Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Zwift Community Live broadcast of the Zwift Racing League Season 2, Week number 3. This is the EMEA, European, Middle East, and Africa region. And we are into we are going to be doing East 1, East 2, Division 3 that we'll be covering for the men right now. For the women, we'll be covering West Division 1. And then right after that, we're going to be into the men's West Division 3 for the both the 1 and 2 there as well. I know there's a lot going on there that I just said. That's because there are a lot of teams racing in the Zwift Racing League, specifically during this time zone. This is the hot time zone, that's for sure. There's a reason why we've almost always gone live over the last 5 years of broadcasting these races around that 1 p.m. Central Time. So pretty awesome to see, though, all the people in chat hanging out and all the races out on course. We're on Innsbruck today, Dave. Just like yesterday, we saw quite the battle in Premier Division. And what's cool that we saw in APAC this morning is those teams trying to really get to that top level. Only 15 seconds off in the men's from what we saw in Premier Division coming from Freddie Ovitt. Interesting to see DPAC. You know, we've got some chasers here trying to go from into Season 3.
Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest parts of this, to tell you the truth, Nathan, is the community, as we, for the first time, brought the top teams from Season 1 into Season 2. They have represented incredibly well. There's very small gap, if any gap at all. I mean, look, a woman who raced with us in this division last year, or Season 1, I should say. I guess it was last year, actually. Jamie Lee Wright. She was clocking sprints out there, taking bonus sprints along the way. And that was something that she mastered that craft out here with us in the community league on the Aeonian team. So this is a very, very high level. This might be the challenging course that we have in front of us today. Has, as far as Zwift Racing League goes, the toughest climb that we've ever seen. The KOM after party. This is really a strong woman or a strong man's course, no doubt about it. Both the finales yesterday, the men and the women, Nathan, it came down to who wanted it more, Freddie Ovitt or Catherine Curie.
One thing that I really do like about this course is exactly that, the reality that it is really about the strongest to the line. A lot of times, especially coming from a mountain bike background, that's one thing that really attracted me to the mountain bike. It was just go, who's the strongest, who's the most technical ability. This kind of a course, it's tactical, definitely tactical. We saw a ton of tactics play out, but the tactics are to get you into a position to be the strongest at the end of the day. One of the things I like about a race like this.
I completely agree, Nathan. And I think the great thing about what WTRL does with the community races is there's even more tactic interjected with all of the bonuses that we have. Is they don't use the fastest timed segment in Premier League, but we've got it here. That's going to be the difference. There's a lot of points there. There's a lot of points at these bonuses. We score the sprints even deeper. I think you're going to see a more dynamic race if you look at it pound for pound, ounce for ounce out here in the community league this week, to tell you the truth, because there could be a breakaway that goes away. The leg snapper that they hit 3 times, that didn't do as much damage in the community league, or excuse me, in Premier, as I think it's going to, or the effect it's going to have on the ultimate outcome will be greater. I think that's fair to say, than what we saw yesterday, which makes for, it's going to be a wild day of racing. I know that Kate and Anna started in APAC, and it was great racing there. As you said, super high level too. So I think we're going to jump in, Nathan, with a tremendously large field here. This is Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Nathan, as you were saying, when you listen to it, D1, D2, D3 in Europe, blah, 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 it's a lot. Well, that's because this is the biggest endurance sports race league in the world, with active racers at close to 10,000 per week. This is absolutely a COVID phenomenon, but it goes way beyond that now. That storyline is getting stale. To tell you the truth, this is the future of racing for so many folks. There's a great article in Velo about our friend Martin at WTRL. And here we go, Nathan. I just got to throw it to you, because look at this. They're having at it. They might split 20 riders off here if they go this hard. And again, I can't believe I'm changing the tenor of my voice, only 5.5K in, but this thing is going to another level already. This is the leg snapper. This climb, it's 430 meters so it's not long distance wise. They just hit the top and make the turn, but that was 6.9% that they were going up there, Nathan.
Yeah, real quickly, giving everybody a shout out as to exactly what you're looking at as well as far as the divisions go. We are into the East 1 Division 3. You can see the current standings. It is going to be the Belgian Zwift Riders Eagles 2 that are currently leading at 39 points. We do have, it looks like, Bivral here actually from that team making his way forward. They actually have a kit in game. One of the longest standing teams actually out on Zwift. It's great to see them being well represented here. You also have, as you can see, the rest of the standing with a tie for 35 points, interesting enough, at the second and third with UC Chamois, and then it's going to be Cardiff Ajax. Essex, they're 1 point behind. A little bit of a gap down for three-way tie for 5th, 6th, and 7th there with Wolfpack, TCECA team, and ODZ Kraken. I did see ODZ Kraken, though, making the way to the front on this climb. Now, there's a whole lot of sprint points up for grabs in just a second here as they're going to head into this sprint section. It will both be fastest time for the segment as well as the top points across the line. We'll have points up on the board for you in just a moment here after they go through this first sprint to give you an idea. It is a points race. It is not a scratch race. It's all about these sprint points as well as the KOM at the end of the day. And for the finish there, you do get some points. So lots of points for the teams up for grab. It's the team that wins, not the individual. The individual grabs the points for the team. Here we go. It's going to be themed, though. THTRH trying to make it happen. And to the line, it's going to be Garner, actually, it looks like, taking that down with Theme, and then Mertens with BZR Eagles 2 in third.
Just to underline what you were saying, Nathan, as a team now, we start racking these points up here. To give you some perspective, winning that sprint there for a team, that would be 10 points. The winner of the race today, by the time we get to the top of the KOM after party, it will be 40 points, 35 for second. So just to give you some perspective there, that's a significant number of points. We're not just looking at a smattering there. That's why I wonder, do you designate, so I saw Charlie Eisendorf talking about this online. Do you designate riders to get in an early break and try to gobble up some points and save your climber for later? You want to talk about tactics? This course is probably the most complicated to unpack for our directors out here. You have to look at the resources that you have. There's horses for courses, as we say. There's some riders that will be licking their lips waiting to get into that climb. And again, that's a significant climb, the toughest that we've ever seen here. It's 37.2 kilometers of racing today. That's not extensively long. That's pretty right down the middle, I would say. In old money, that's 23 miles of racing. But the vertical gain that you see, it's 7.5. Make it more like 8.5, to tell you the truth. Nathan, you've done this climb zillions of times. You know it as well as anyone out there. I'm sure you do it in world-class time. It's under 15 minutes. Not much under 15 minutes, though.
I don't know if I'm doing the 15 on that, though. I mean, Ovid and those boys, they were absolutely flying over the top there, but definitely just trying to keep up with those boys because they're pushing 6 to 7 over the top there, but definitely
don't sell yourself
class.
Short. Hey, you were riding up in the top 5 at Tour de Oz, my friend. I got a lot of faith in you. You're my boy.
Some people got to know how to ride the game a little bit better than most. I think that's what it comes down to with that. You know how to hide real well when you've been playing the game long enough. So there is that experience that comes into play.
Well, Nathan, with all credit due, it is a mountain biker's finish because it's going to come down to how fit you are, how much you're willing to hurt yourself. You very well could see a lot of FTPs being set today on that climb. And 5.5% for basically 7.5 kilometers. Pretty rough. Tough way to finish a bike race, but it's nice. Particularly, that women's race, or the men's race for that matter, you could see how deep the riders have to dig. You think that you've broken them, and they don't break. That's how tough these riders are, and that's where you really separate the real champions in this sport. It's moments like that. Everybody loves, Nathan, a bunch sprint. It's really exciting. The speed is incredible. But if you're a fan of grit, well, finishes like yesterday or today, are as good as they get. This is Loose that we're with, another one of the BZR Eagles too. So Nathan, they've split quite a few riders off the back here. That's a much smaller group. And watch the next time. Oh, nice. There he is. I love Belgium. They have very nice architecture.
Yeah, and he was actually going for some of the sprints there. Good to see Loose hammering away. We'll see if we can get some picture-in-picture with him. But that's going to be the rider that was just hammering away in front of our screen. Looks like he's recovering 150 beats per minute. That's going to be BZR Eagles. They're the current leaders, actually, in this division right now for the A's. So, and you know what? One of the things that's going to be interesting to see as we get into the back end of this season 2 is part of the knockout series, and as people are able to move up throughout the divisions and everything, it'll be really interesting to see how that ends up playing out with some of these teams that are working their way up. And I think BZR Eagles too are one of those teams that are showing up. They're really dominating this division. They're 4 points ahead, and they may just start to extend that lead over time here.
Yeah, that's a perfect time to bring that up, Nathan, because you wonder how would they do if they were in the Premier League? Well, they might find out in season 3. We had Kirkmeyer has been an example of a team that was racing with us in community season 1. They are doing very well up in the Premier League. Same thing on the women's side. So these questions get answered. That's what's so cool about the ZRL. We're into the 3rd race now of season 2. The league itself is really finding its rhythm, and particularly the community. So if you haven't had a chance to get involved and you're watching this and you want to, it's not that far off. The season 3 will be starting before we know it here. But that's a great example as we look at the BZR Eagles too. This is a team that has a lot of potential. They've got a ways to go here. I'm not saying that they've punched their ticket yet, Nathan, but this is a conversation that you could start talking about. And then they might start having quality riders looking to join them. The rich get richer in pro sports or esports. When you got some momentum, people want to be involved.
100%. And I think that is one of the things we've seen over and over again across a lot of these teams that have popped up out of the community. Interesting to see a little bit of a chase happening here. People maybe with a little inattentiveness that got dropped off. They are chasing. Does look like Mahan here from ODZ. Stromsholm from the Vikings team. TR with Cranston. It's going to be Shakya from EWCC. They could close this down if somebody doesn't punch at the front. Now, the thing about this course, though, a lot of times you do get riders punching through this section because there's a little 3% uphill gradient. You can do a little bit of damage. And this pack is not quite the size that I would feel any kind of real serious threat in just the pure snowball effect of it. It's around that 20 mark, and especially with enough teams in there, you could start to put a little hurt in the legs prior to the leg snapper if you wanted to. Now, with the big climb coming up, though, that kind of neutralizes things a little bit. Everybody's looking forward to that. If this was a regular Innsbruck ring race, you'd see attacks right here. I think the reality of the climb has neutralized this little uphill gradient as a false flat, where you usually might see somebody trying something.
Spoken like a true racer. Right there, Nathan, because I could not agree more with what you're saying. Is when you've got that in the back of your mind, that the Innsbruck KOM after party, it changes how you race right now. So this course is fantastically interesting. When you look at, it's basically entirely a false flat, except for the leg snapper, which is only, a little more than 400 meters. So 4 football pitches lined together. It seems like that's something you could walk in just a couple minutes, but it's at a relatively steep, let's call it 7%, 6.9 technically. And so that comes at you 3 times. Then you obviously have the corresponding descent. It's not even what I'd call the fall from the wall. There's a race in in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, that used to exist that had a climb that was called the Maniac Wall. And when you came back down the other side, it's terrifying to go through tight city blocks at 60 miles an hour, but it's only for a couple of minutes. Well, similar here, that's the turn. They make the drop now. So that's going to be a nice job here by Prohl going over the top. So can you carry this for the points now, Nathan? We've got a few K before you get to that sprint. Do you want to hold on? Are you designated for that?
I don't think so. I don't think that's going to be happening here. But as we're looking at the East 2 Division 3A, Pro here from GC. GC Chimera, they're currently with 25 points. They're in 7th place. So they're really trying to do something here, it looks like, to hold off. Not usually, but look at how stretched out this is. They are going to snowball, though, over the top, it looks like here. BM Pro chasing that down very quickly, and that is going to be the current leaders. BM Pro, Beastmaster Pro, Ostronen, that is going to be the team with 40 points, and they are covering everything, it looks like. They're not letting anything get away in this division. I think they're setting up really well here. They have reserved, on that descent, you saw lots of super tuck, 2 or 3 riders. Now they're going to have a lead out man, most likely. Set things up. Arrow power is being thrown. Watch out for BM Pro to try and take down some points here. But it's going to be Wexsteel Watt and the Zwift kids too, Le French, Tech, all trying to hunt them down. Maybe watch out for a couple in the lower ranks here, but those are the teams I'd be watching out for in this division.
Beastmaster, I like the name racing here in Austria. This, when you look at Innsbruck, it's a city of about 300,000. You can see that split right there, about one city block from Group 1 back to Group 2. So they're going to gobble up these points, and then I would imagine that would reset there. Or, yeah, I think so, Nathan. I don't know, but here we go. Sprint has engaged here. 10 points for the first man over the line. Is it going to be Morris deploying? So we should talk about the fact that helmet advantage. Yeah, well, and here comes Hermans, and I think Hermans is he gonna get there?
Dutch rider. Morris got it. They crossed there. Yeah, Morris definitely. He got the jump. No, it's fine. He got the jump there early enough. And what I've noticed, and I think some of these riders have been watching some of the other broadcasts and seeing that you can sneak away a little bit early. It's difficult to do, but if you sneak away with just the right timing, the pack sleeps sometimes just a tad, and you can find yourself off the front. And also, this section through here, because of this downhill speed up, if people press through here and take the speed from the sprint into this little bit of a downhill 3% negative gradient, that speed can carry away from anybody trying to get back on terms. You snowball on that downhill into a flat, and then somebody puts the pressure on. Look at this. Off the back, and it's the sprint that broke it up, not the leg snapper.
If you love bike racing, you are loving this right now. These guys are having at it out here. But in this day and age, to be able to get your bike racing Jones on, it is nice, and this is going to be fun. So here we go. Now, again, it is not an incredibly long day of racing, but the sting is in the tail with this one. That Innsbruck KOM after party climb is going to change everything. Nathan, I don't really think it's even worth talking about trying to get in a group that gets a buffer at the bottom of the climb, because the pure climbers just have a heyday once they get on that grade out there. So tactically, we're racing for points out here, really. And I think it's a different group of riders that are going for these points that we're going to be seeing for the finale of this race. And that's exciting. That's something that we rarely get to see in real life or on esports platform here. Looks like you've got a replay.
No, this is actually for the sprint right now. Lucis looks like he's going to be going through it. They're just coming off the top of the leg snapper. Up and out of the saddle here, Lucy looks like 7.38 watts per kilogram. Not sure he's going to be able to hold on to. Not going to be going for the points themselves, but just looking to hang on, it looks like. The rest of his team maybe nipping at the line. No, Pryor holds on. But as you can see, even here with this, he's not actually involved for the points, but that's just to hang on at the front end of this pack right now and to be involved still. So as you can see here, BZR Eagles 2, he's closing that gap. He's kind of the glue a little bit at this point that's keeping things together as he shuts some of that down. 178 beats per minute, a little bit of a gap here back to Berg. He's going to close it down. Jansen in trouble. He's going to do what he needs to hang on. Berg is there as well from the Vikings team. Little ways back, in trouble. It's going to be Brunbauer there, TCEC. There it is, though. That is the pack. 30 riders, it looks like, going through for lap number 2.
Yeah, and look how ragged it is at the back. They're closing these gaps down now. Well, just about here. Weld that final one, and there you go. Making the connection. Okay, absolute Donnybrook going on. I love this kind of racing, Nathan, as we roll through, coming up on 17K in. So to set the table for everyone now, one of these riders here has got to be thinking about keeping that Zwift efficiency or TSS as low as possible. I saw a question about the power-ups, Nathan, the helmet, the feather, and the van. This is what we are able to use. They're evenly distributed. Actually, I believe, if I do the math right, you have 6, 7 opportunities to collect these power-ups going underneath the banners is usually where you see them. The feather, well, that's, it's interesting to hear Catherine Curie yesterday talking about the feather isn't really all that valuable you were looking for, but 10% less weight for 15 seconds will be really valuable if you've got it, although the steeper it is.
Well, for Catherine, because Catherine wants to sprint, right?
Right.
But for the feather, if you want to break someone like Catherine Curry, it's a 10%, 15% gradient feather time. That's how you do it. So it depends on what your talents are, and you get a power up toward your talent, I would think.
So I think she's saying, so if you have the drafting power up, the van, that gives you 50% off of your drag coefficient, right? That is what maybe when it's basically flat for the last 200 meters, that would be perfect for her then. But Nathan,
for the
you're 100% right.
For the arrow, correct. 100% there. Can we take a quick look here?
Right, in draft, you're right. In draft, yep. Go ahead, Nathan.
Let's take a quick look here before they head into their final lap for the Innsbruck ring, and then on over to the KOM, just to give everybody an idea of where we're at here, Dave. Let's take a look at this Velo Viewer map of the course.
Perfect. Yeah, this is. Well, so 3 times up the leg snapper, where we just went over there, as you could see, was going to be defining these laps. But the sprints have played a big role as well. So 3 laps here where it's basically flat besides that little hiccup, and then you hit the KOM after party, and that's where it's all going to go down on this absolutely brutal climb. As you can see, you're going to go for 7.5 kilometers at 5.5%. That's quite a climb to the finish line. It'll be a very small group. As a matter of fact, I was surprised that our finishers yesterday weren't completely alone. Nathan, how do you tackle this one from your perspective as a guy who loves climbing?
Yeah, I mean, the reality is you set up, you sit in, you float as much as you possibly can in the wheels of your riders that are going for the sprints. You hang on to the sections that you need to hang on to the to be floating amongst that pack as much as you can. You waste as little energy as you can. You let the sprinters do their job over those 3 laps. You let them get the points, and then your job is to get delivered, but the delivery actually doesn't happen at the bottom of the climb. You see where it kind of kicks up and starts doing those switchbacks a little? That's the actual delivery. There's a run in. You're still drafting at that 3 to 4 or 5% gradient. As soon as you hit that first kick, though, the attacks will come on at that 10% or so, and that's when the real race begins. And from there on, there is drafting on the uphills, though, so there is a reality that you need to sit in. You need to play smart. There is a lot of tactics, though, also in the reality of how that climb plays out with the flatter sections. You attack where it's steepest. You sit in and use the riders around you where it's not.
We talked about that yesterday, Nathan. It's so rare for riders at the super high level to be riding with anyone. No one can keep their wheel or ride that pace, but not here. This is where you are with a group of your peers, and that is extremely cool to see how fast you can go, especially when you can use that draft. Obviously, the faster you're going, the more the draft effect is there. But if you're climbing at 16, 18K per hour, makes a difference. And this is going to be the Cardiff Ajax rider, Lord, that we're jumping in with now. Again, mixing it up. It's nice this week to be in with the EMEA, so Europe, Middle East, and Africa. It kind of starts the middle part of the day, is over in the Asia Pacific. They get things going. We've got Division 3 from the E1 and E2 today. With so many races, Nathan, it does make sense when you start looking at how they break it all down. It's just, yeah, how do you make a league with 10,000 people? They had to invent this just due to popular demand. So, okay, pretty select group that we're looking at, 20K in. The total distance today isn't really the story because it's the last 8K where it all goes down, but 37.2 kilometers of racing. 23 miles doesn't sound like as much as the effort will be because this one's a brute.
It is. And something really interesting here for me is that beast mode seems to be everywhere right now. Like, these guys have just come out of the woodwork. I mean, like Christopher Thiem that we saw a little bit earlier, I didn't recognize actually that the name of the team there was actually representing beast mode as well. So cool to see with Thiem. Christopher Thiem has taken 18 points. I'm assuming, so I'm just going to double check some things here, but I actually didn't recognize that in this Division 3, we have a beast mode team hammering away, actually, for these points here. So
Awesome.
Thiem, yeah, interesting to see. Now he's the
So,
only one that I'm seeing actually in and amongst this. So I'm going to see if I can find Thiem out here again. But he is dominating the points so far with 18 points. Jell Mertens there with 16, and Alex
oh yeah.
Warchitsky there with 14, tied with Dimitri Gardner for 14 as well in the point standings right now.
Yeah, Christoph is a German rider, Beast Mode Crew, I see. And I'm looking, Nathan, I'm with you there. So, folks, to be honest, one of my true joys in life is learning about the racers. I know Nathan really loves it too. Beast Mode is a very good example of reaching out through social media, letting us know what you're about. It helps a ton. Love hearing your stories, so don't be shy. I'm not just doing that to build my Instagram account, Nathan.
And that also helps as well, I would think. But so we do have a climb happening here. It looks like here. This is going to be the Division 2 now. Excuse me. Yeah, the East 2 Division 3. Excuse me. That are climbing their second time up over the top of the leg snapper. We're gonna see how this ends up playing out for these boys. It looks like at the top it's gonna be Paltneck, and then Hawkins. Schroeder really is gonna be the one though. The U19 rider. No heart rate monitor on, so interesting enough to see. We'll see if maybe a little malfunction on the heart rate monitor side of things. Dixon, though, closing it down. Worthington from Wahoo Lacole involved as well. Now into Super Tuck land, or is he up? There we go. A little bit of Super Tuck for Schroeder, the German rider. BM Pro, though, again, the riders to be watching out for in this as they have been dominating so far in the first 2 weeks.
66 kilometers per hour. This is why you don't try to break away at this point in the bike race, as the blob speed is at such a high level here, as they are hightailing their way around Innsbruck here. So as we jump in with the different races, they slightly stagger the start times here. Again, that's a good example. We're talking about Europe, Middle East, and Africa East. Well, in the next couple hours, we'll migrate following the sun over to the west, and the women will be racing as well over the course of the next couple of hours. So this is probably when we put the most meat through the grinder, as they say, as we have a lot of watts being generated all over the. It's not too many riders out of North America racing in these categories, but you see them pop up every now and then.
Fluid
But
here, this
mostly you see these.
move. I don't know, Dave. I mean, really early here, but this looks like just a little bit of an inexperience about the reality of how a pack dynamic works in Zwift. That looked like a move for it, but I mean, not going to happen. Morris again, though, smashing the watch here, it looks like. And I think he's got it again. He keeps on slipping by just perfectly and using the pack's momentum to sneak away. And I think he's doing it. Look at that. He just pulled it off. And he's doing it at the perfect time where they don't have quite enough speed or landscape to get by him, because he doesn't have the kick that these other riders do, I don't think. I think he's just timing it better.
Absolutely. That is a guy who knows how to not only make the watts, but play the game. Great job there. So that's how you catch our attention here at Zwift Community Live, riding like Morris right now. So let's see what's going on here, as that puts the pressure on the group to rejoin. But most of these guys, if not all of these guys, are going to be able to get back. But you can see that there's some little small gaps opening up at the back here. This is why positioning is always so key, and being aware of what's up ahead makes such a big difference. We might lose a rider or two here if they continue to press on as they are. It's brutal at this point. As they're just coming up on the midpoint over on your right-hand screen, you can see, as we have a picture-in-picture here, picture one, we're in with White. And they're not that far from hitting the bottom of the climb. Another 5 or 6K to go here. When I say climb,
this is going to be they're over the top of their final leg snapper. They just hit the final leg snapper here in the East 1 Division 3 that we're looking at here on the screen. And as we look forward here, Cardiff again, Ajax, it looks like set up well. Plastic Cockney's there with Ward. It's going to be toward the front, though, it's a lot of German flags. So many German flags hanging out in here, and great to see. And, I have to wonder, with Jason Osborne's win, I saw a huge pickup of German teams showing up to the Zwift Racing League. I don't think that's coincidence one bit.
No, I would agree with you on that. Certainly, there's a magnetic response when something like that happens, and certainly now at the front of this bike race, they're making this one rough. As some more points is always going to put pressure on the group here. This is going to be Ward of the Plastic Cockneys. This is a real throwdown here.
Now, interesting to see. I'm seeing theme here. TRH. He has beast mode in his name, but TRH is what I'm seeing for the team. So interesting enough, maybe he rides for beast mode across most of Zwift, but specifically in the Zwift Racing League, he's on TRH. We'll see what's going on with that because Theme has been grabbing lots of points. Currently was leading before running into that. It looks like he's going to continue that lead as he took down those points right there across the line. He might also have the fastest across the line for the segment. They are going to be heading into the climb here momentarily. Be ready for a full-on KOM after party. And I'm seeing, we're seeing a little bit of a Luce from the BZR team just gave me a "I'm dead" signal coming through over on the call, actually saying that he's a little bit of a nope. Oh, that hurt, I think is what he's saying. Now they still have a climb to come.
Well, when it's over on a day like today. No point in trying to fake it up to the bottom of that climb. Look at this group right now, Nathan. These guys are bracing themselves for this finale here. We've talked about how if there was ever a course that asked your team to designate riders to be role players, well, we're about to shift into your closer role now as we take a look at another one of the BZR Eagles 2 riders, Luce here. So this team, again, this is a team sport. The points that your team earns are how we ultimately will find our winner on the day that receive so it's a series of 8 races, and you look at the points that you get each week, and that's the final table that we have. And BZR Eagles are doing a really good job of keeping a bunch of riders up in this front group here.
Looking 2 or 3 riders, actually, at least trying to get comfortable. I think he's recovering here, Luce. You know, getting ready for the little bit of a chatter there coming through from Discord. It looks like there's a lot of communication happening. It looks like within the BZR Eagles too. Again, this is the top team in this division as well for the East 1, Division 3A. So be on the watch out for them on the climb. They've got to defend. They are in the yellow jersey position, essentially, needing to defend their position in this series right now. How many riders do they have? I see one here for BZR. With that Belgian Zwift Racers, I see another up toward the front there with Mertens is here as well. So maybe 2 riders that have made this lead group, maybe perhaps 3 as I'm looking forward just a little bit here. So I think 3 riders here in and amongst for the BZR boys. See who they're going to set up for their climber.
Looks like our Swedish friends aren't having a bad day either out here, Nathan. That man on your in picture there is quietly a hero using his push to talk.
Did he hit push to talk?
Right.
I think he did. I wasn't sure. I didn't see that. That wasn't positive.
I'm pretty sure that's what we saw there.
Having a little bit of making sure everybody's ears are not having any extra
being violated.
Any extra violation. No extra energy going to just trying to block people out with their heavy breathing. That's always a plus for the team.
Pretty good sized group at this point, Nathan. These guys are all, again, showing you depth in this front group here as they've made it up and over that leg snapper with no problem, or relatively no problem, I guess I should say. It's not a nothing burger out there, but it's not deciding this bike race either, which a lot of times for us, it is the decisive sector of the course, depending on the race that we're doing. But today's a beast. There's no doubt about it. For as far as what we've done now so the community raced 10 times in season 1. So this is the 13th community race, and this is by far the toughest finish that we've ever had.
100%. This is when it comes to, and what's funny is sometimes people are like, well, is it really that interesting to watch a climb like this? Well, you get to see the battle of suffering play out. I enjoy it 100%. Like, it might just be slow grinding, but there is so much tactic and so much that you can see in the narrative play out in somebody's effort out on course, and that's what we come for sport for. So they're about to start this climb. It's going to be interesting to see how they set it up. It's heading on over. There's only a couple of K, not even a couple of K left to hit the bottom of the climb. We'll see how these riders set up. BZR, they're on the defense when it comes to this division right now.
Yeah, there are very few things in the world that are considered more painful than trying to win this bike race in the final 2K. You're scraping the bottom of the wattage barrel. No doubt about it. I mean, you look at the riders, if we have a chance to, uh, it is really something. They dig deeper on their smart trainers at home than you could, I think, even in real life. Because if you tried to do that in real life, when you blacked out, you'd crash and hit your head. Whereas these riders are able to just kind of collapse onto their bicycle after the effort. It's phenomenal to watch. There's no doubt about it. Esports are a special, special type of competition and athlete, no doubt about it. So, kind of taking a little bit of roll call right now. See a lot of German and Welsh flags there, Nathan. That Welsh flag, if you love your Zwift, you learn that flag right away. Maybe one that, as in your state, at least for speaking from the American perspective, you wouldn't necessarily see the Welsh flag a lot in school, but man, do you see it a lot in Zwift.
Yeah, and now as they're taking this left-hand turn, you can see the KOM off in the distance. We'll see if we can get a good camera view of where this ominous finish is coming up here, and you can see off in the distance there at the top. There's the top of this climb is so high, you can see hot air balloons near where their finish banner is going to be.
You're looking down into their picnic that they're having in the basket of the hot air balloon. That's how high up you are. So, Nathan, I have to ask, what's the perfect bike for this course? Now, if you could change bikes right now, that's a two-part question. What bike would you have started with, wheels and bike? And
I would have
that
been
being
on
said,
the tarmac with either the tarmac
858.
or the Madonna, or not the Madonna, the Madonna, the Madone with Mellensteins. Mellensteins on.
Mellensteins, yep.
Yeah,
And to
Mellensteins.
get those
The lightest wheel,
Mellensteins,
the lightest bike, the fastest climbing, because the reality is it's going to be about those kicking points that's going to really break things. That's what we saw in the men's and the women's race yesterday. So this is the setup, though. These are teasers. This is not where the race is won. These are, unless these are the strongmen and they're just saying, I'm going to take it from bottom to top. But I think that these are not going to stay away. The real climbers are sitting in waiting for those moments to come.
These are not the droids that you're looking for, as they would say. You're going to have a real surge coming. There's just not enough pitch to work with for the top climbers right now. They're happy to let this run out like a fisherman here. You can give them some line, no problem, because when it gets steep, and again, we are just starting now into what we would call the after party, the KOM after party. It's going to average at 5.5% for the next 7.5K. Ladies and gentlemen, this right here, right now, is the bike race. So you had to have survived. You ran that gauntlet in Innsbruck, but now the race to the finish line begins. So you're going to see riders getting shelled out the back of this group. They show the back door to riders over and over again, and you rarely see. Now, you will see a little bit of back and forth, I think, through the middle part. One of the things about this climb, as you know well, Nathan, it's not a steady climb. It's hard to find a rhythm out here.
Yeah, it is. It comes in waves, this climb. There is the reality that it hits these, as you can see, 7% gradient. It almost gets worse as it goes on. You hit the 7%, 8% or so, then it levels out a little bit. Then there's a couple of switchbacks, 3 or 4 switchbacks that kick into a 10+% gradient. Then you get into another one of these little village towns. It levels out a little bit, and then again it kicks, and then it goes levels out one more time, and then there's a last kick before it flattens out for a sprint finish if anybody's left standing with you.
Yeah, there's a reason why those little villages are in the slightly flatter areas, is you cannot imagine what it's like to live on the side of a cliff, that's for sure. There's the split. All right, they are punching tickets now. This group will just get smaller and smaller. It's like Agatha Christie's 10 Little Indians, and then there were 9, and then there were 8, and then there were 7, and here we go. This is as good as it gets, folks. A pure climber is loving this. You get so few opportunities like this in racing, e-racing, anywhere to this. If your climbing is your jam and you're in this group, it's your chance to make hay, because it is in the field right now. So let's start identifying the riders that are going to be in the mix here, Nathan. We've got some time to spend with these guys, remembering that they're really right now sitting at the average gradient that they're going to have for the next little over 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, and this is a great time to kind of take a look at like what they are actually fighting for in the standings here. if we take a look and see, it is going to be, as I said earlier, the Belgian Zwift riders, Eagles 2. We're the ones leading out this series right now. So they're on the defense at 39 points. But you see, Chimoy, they're also involved here. Are they still toward the front? Is that going to be UCC here, the French rider, leading things out? So they've got something to game. Cardiff Ajax, again, also a team to be watching out for. They still have Lord here, but Lord maybe struggling toward the back here or sitting in 181 beats per minute. So that's a part of the conversation as well. Is Essex still involved? It's going to be a question. TR as well. ODZ Kraken. Where's the ODZ riders? I am seeing, is that going to be Mateus here? Is he the only representative? Is he going to be able to pull off some points here? Plastic Cockneys with a rider with Ward. I'm not seeing Cockneys in the overall top 10, so interesting enough to see. Is involved, though, at the front end of this race right now.
Well, all right. This is what you'd call the selection. It's a relatively large group, wouldn't you say, Nathan, at this point? I'm a little surprised to see this many guys keeping their head above water here. There's going to be another surge, and it's steep. It's getting steeper, so this is where you'd think they might be tempted into hitting out the top climbers in this group, but I think they're going to keep the powder dry right now, showing some real patience here.
Yeah,
that's maturity.
And this is how you do it. You know, I mean, it's a tough one because I always question in my own mind how to, if you have the confidence, punching hard can be very, very difficult for the rest of the riders and really break things apart. But how deep you dig when you punch hard and you try and break things apart can put you directly off the back real quickly if everybody else is not suffering that bad. And you can find yourself, knocking yourself out. Exactly. Right out of the race there.
To be honest, Nathan, that is so, especially when you talk about in real life racing at altitude. No one wants to put it into the red zone because they realize they are incredibly exposed. And so conservative racing is how typically you win, especially in a stage race. But this is not a stage race. A lot of these riders are here to do this. This is your job now, to get a result at the top of this climb. Some of the other riders on your squad have been fighting for those intermediate points along the way, and now there's some serious points waiting. Theme is having, the German rider there on the front, is having one heck of a ride as he's putting the accelerator down on the floorboard here. Considering, I mean, they're moving at 25 kilometers per hour on a 5% grade. These guys, and here we go. There's a surge happening. That's going to put a few more riders out the back. As a matter of fact, this is the moment right here, right now, Nathan. This is going to be Bart Vral here. And the Belgian rider Vral has taken out the screwdriver and is absolutely turning screws right now.
Yeah, Vral now, it looks like on the attack, bringing back Flow Cycle a little bit. Interesting to see. I think Flow Cycle might have had a little bit of an internet issue there for a second. Ward now, Plastic Cockney's shutting that right on down. Might be like something we saw yesterday where it was a group of 3 or 4 riders off the front that really showed that they were the cream of the crop, that they were those. And the differences here are like 2-3%, but that 2-3% is what makes that 15 seconds at the end that a small group off the front will win by. In a situation like this. Cardiff now off the back 6.3, having to push into 180 beats per minute. 400 watts here coming from Cardiff right now. Gonna stay on terms. Wow. Matthew falling off just a little bit from Art Nuclear. It's gonna be Matthews as well as Folkler now. Mateus there from Team ODZ, no longer involved off the back here. Portugal not gonna be able to make it into that lead group. I think this is nothing but backwards for this rider at this point. But Folkler, can he hang on? I think he's about to get snapped off the elastic too.
It's so important, Nathan, to, again, we're not just talking about the win of the bike race here, is every point is going to matter when you look at the final tally. Great so don't blow yourself up trying to stay in that front group. You're better off to ride at your pace and hold on and get the best placing that you can. Don't be a hero, as they say sometimes. Do your job. That's the most important thing. This is incredible to see Folkler riding his way back up into this group. That is one heck of an effort. So, again, you never know. Maybe a little bit of a technical. what is going on with these riders as we're taking a look now. That's going to be Janssen, the Swedish rider up there. So, okay, maybe they're taking a little, I mean, no one is backing off at all, but as you take inventory here, you're wondering who has made this front group as they are getting down to about 3.5K to go here. Little more than that, right in between 3.5 and 4K until this one is done and dusted on the Innsbruck KOM after party. This is your Europe, Middle East, and Africa division. Is this E2 or E1? I'm sorry, Nathan.
Yeah, we're on E1. This is E1, Division 3A.
D3.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, E1, D3. Belgian Zwift riders, Eagles 2, again, the current defending leaders of this after 2 races. We're into race number 3. Flow Cycle from UCC. They are currently tied with Cardiff Ajax, actually, for 35 points. Second and third, they're still involved here at the front of the race as Lord, it looks like D Lord and R Lord right now. Both Welshmen here trying to hang on in this pack, and that might put Ajax at the top as Belgian Swift riders. They only have 2 riders still involved in this league group here. Ajax could get a lot of points on the board today. Bringing every rider you can to the line is also super important here, not just the win, because of the point structure here. Working together, Cardiff Ajax, they're still involved for the series.
Here would be the point. If you've got a rider who has a little bit of a sprint on him, who's still in this group, don't go to the front and drop them out of the group, or you're going to be pushing points off the table for you. So you said, our Lord, I'm looking for O Lord, because this climb is absolutely brutal at this point. Now, the pace that they are riding at here, it's 7%, Nathan, and they're moving at 23 kilometers per hour. And we've got a baker's dozen riders sitting up in this front group. Excellent point there. It's not just about your individual result. No one rider can get enough points to be able to put your team into the top 5. You're going to need your teammates there. But as you take some inventory in this group, it doesn't look like there's many riders that have, you're lucky to have one teammate at this point. This is quite a mix of riders that we have here.
So we don't have any of these lead riders on Suffer Cam right now, but I want to give everybody an idea of what kind of pain that these riders are going through. So this is going to be a teammate of the BZR team here that's a little ways down the road right now. Just, I mean the pain, and this isn't with the lead group just even to hang on. Look at how red Luce is in the face right now. This is the 180 beats per minute, only about halfway through. I'm looking for him on the riders nearby list, but he's not there from what I can see. His teammates are up the road. I saw him on Discord communicating just a moment ago, but you can see how incredibly difficult this is right now, just from the pain on Luce's face with the BZR boys. And he's out there to get the points, though. He's still involved 4 points for the team at this point. So it isn't just about being in that lead group. Getting into as the best place you possibly can definitely matters for this team as well.
Well, right now it looks like BZR Eagles 2 are in pretty good shape as the top team in this division. But Plastic Cockneys, there's one of the very recognizable super squadras. And this is Ward here, who now is going to make a run for it. We're at, let's call it 3K to the finish at this point.
Yeah, 3K to the finish line here, and it's going to be Ward now trying to really break things apart, and he's using perfectly each one of these little bit of kicks, and the speed over that section also matters, and Flow Cycle is making the suffering real here. You know, if you get a little bit of a gap, just a tiny bit of a gap through those punches, those little bit of a increase the gradient, and then you hit the flatter sections with just a little extra to keep the speed high, that's really where the gaps can open up, because that speed, you to try and match that, everybody else wants to sit up. As soon as the gradient stops, you don't feel the force against the pedals. The smart trainer is no longer pulling against you. You go, oh, okay. And you kind of want to take a breather. That's the moment to pounce, and you get the speed high. If somebody has to respond to that, they're going to have nothing when you hit this uphill gradient again. And you can see exactly that prior, off the back. Wilson, it was the speed point through the village that it really broke them.
That is how you make a selection. If you go back and watch that last minute, speaking to what you were saying, Nathan, is when everybody else backs off a little bit, that's where the champions go a little bit harder. You have to find your moment, and sometimes it's an incredibly small window. Look at Manila A rider Wilson fighting back now. This man is a human wattage cottage that we're looking at here.
7.2.
You can see a couple of runners. Wow. That is, I mean, this is insane how hard these guys are fighting. Here comes Lord now, the Cardiff Ajax rider, looking resplendent in that Rafa kit. And this is, okay, Nathan, this is what you expect to see. It is always something to watch it play out, though, is how hard these guys are going now, and they still have a few more minutes of this here. As they say, if you're going through hell, keep going. And that's what these guys are doing now as we pick up the Tête de la Course. The front of the bike racing team has had an incredible day. Got to give Flow Cycle and Bart Vral as well for the Belgian BZR Eagles 2. These are the men who have made their mark on the race today. Look at Team putting it up in the red here. So the German rider is rolling at this point, and it's at a steep pitch here, 8%.
So we did see just a moment ago that was going to be Lord that we were talking about from the Cardiff Ajax team. They are in third place with 35 points, tied with UCC, but it looks like, I'm assuming, is it going to be brothers? I'm not positive what the situation here is between the family, but I think there's going to be a relation there between our Lord and D Lord from Cardiff Ajax, both Welshmen. I mean, I don't think that's too much of an assumption to be made, but D Lord here falling off the back. Doesn't look like he's going to make this. Our Lord here not going to be waiting up, trying to get across to that lead group just barely. And I wonder if he waited too much. For, what was he trying to keep the team together, or did he just get dropped? Because he's coming across. He's dropped Wilson. He's dropped Pryor at this point. Will he be able to make it into this last little bit of a kick? It does look like Vral here on the front, though, from BCR Eagles 2 does not want that to happen. We've seen that the teams that are represented at the front here are going to be UCC, which they're in second place overall with 35 points, tied with Cardiff Ajax. They do not want Cardiff Ajax to come back. UCCC need to break this pack right now and not let anything stay involved.
Watch this now. That's perfect example of there is no quarter asked for and there is no quarter given at this level. And now, Nathan, you move into the phase of the race where in order to win and take the 40 points, everyone can look around. They're not going to damage a teammate in this group, so you can run your race at this point here. And it's going to come down to, it'll be a real champion. Worthy winner, as we like to say, out of this group. This is the Vanguard. They are coming up on 1K to go here. It's a brutal K. You know there's going to be a surge, and you can see riders right now. I have to think there's no taking a deep breath, but the pitch has gone down to 4%. They haven't seen it close to anything close to flat for a while, but this is relatively, it's not as steep as what they've been on, and this is where you get one chance to reload because we're making the run to the finish line now.
AH now on the front there. GCA Flow Cycle still able to hang on. It looks like Theme now pulling on through. Theme has been responding to everything but never hitting the front.
Strong.
He's never hitting the front.
Ride.
He took so many of those sprints. I'd be watching out for him if he hangs on all the way to the top. Similar to what we saw with Catherine Curry yesterday, hanging on. We saw Kocinski on the attack, hanging on, and then bam, sniped it at the end there. We might be able to see that from Thiem because we've seen him on the sprints time and time again. He won almost every one of them at the bottom. Now he's able to climb, maybe not at the same level as some of these riders, but, obviously hanging on, but I think he's hanging on just to wait for that opportune moment at the finish.
I wonder who's got what in their power-up bank. Nathan, looks like that's going to make a difference.
For so long, they are waiting. They are being patient.
They're all sitting on it. Yeah, they're all sitting on it. Whether it's a helmet, a feather, or a van, we're going to see them in that. So timing that power up is everything. The experienced riders know how to use that perfectly. And I get a feel. Oh, there's one right there, popping up in a feather. So 10% lighter for. You'll see what 15 seconds look like. It goes by incredibly quickly.
I think that rider's just struggling. I think they were just dying.
Well, you wouldn't use it now if you didn't need, right?
Like, that was really interesting. 3% grade. We're about to hit into the sprint here. I think that power-up was like, I'm going to fall off. I need to do this. We're within 1K of the finish line.
He wasn't on the back of the group when he did it, which is the weird thing. I think that was accidental. I think that was a misfired power-up, to tell you the truth.
Thiem on the front. We've seen him win sprint time and time again. Why is he leading things out here? We've got about 700 meters to the finish line.
No, they're not getting
German
a draft
rider,
off
173.
Him right now.
Interesting to see, 4%. It's going to be a downhill. This sprint has been really interesting to watch here, Dave, because of the way it plays out with that a little bit of downhill there. So it is a roll through, a little bit of snowball.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting now. I was thinking Bart Vral is the man to beat. The BZR Eagles 2 rider. He's hungry.
300 meters to the line. Here we go. Flow Cycles tries to set up. He's the first one to go to the front. Thiem now, 9.9. So much patience now. Here he goes. There's the arrow power up. It's is it going to work out? Flow Cycle tries to hold on. Nobody's got anything left. It looks like 8 watts per kilogram is it. And Theme has the arrow. 180 walks away, 10 watts per kilogram. And man, this is a rider to watch for the future. Flow Cycle across line, Ward. Then it's going to be Vral, AH. And look, UCC, they just got some serious points, but now it's going to be all about the rest of the riders across the line as it's still a team competition.
And how about the great job by Lord here, Nathan, to not blow himself up working too hard to get to that group and give up these very important points, 40, 35, 30. But then you start getting down into 27, 26, 25. So the points stack up like cordwood from here on in. So there's going to be Wilson of the Manila A team coming across the line. Significant points here at the finish. Pryor, good job for EWCC.
D-Lord, Ajax just snipping it at the line against the other VZR Eagles boys. These are some battles going on between these teams. What I really like to see as these riders come across line is you can see the battles play out across all the teams as they make their way, because some of these riders are going to start marking each other about who's who amongst them and who they kind of end up playing out against throughout the entirety of the season. Especially on a course like this, they can kind of see who they match up with against the other teams that they're battling for the points with.
Yeah, and we have still plenty of points to distribute here at the finish line. So these riders are all in the mix there. So good job. So that means that tabulation will begin. We have a lot of racing for you coming up here over the next hour and a half or so. We still got the women to look forward to, as well as we'll move over a little bit further west in Europe here in North America into the afternoon, into the early evening in Europe. That is a great example of the kind of racing you can look forward to. This is Hawkins out here on the steepest pitch that you see on the KOM after party outside of Innsbruck. So Hawkins getting it done. Keep on rolling here.
Hawkins, Soton TCA. Yeah, this is an interesting move here. Now, Morris, that was taking a lot of those sprints down below, still involved. It looks like 185 second on the road. Do you think he's going to be able to close this down? It's a good 7-second gap. Hawkins, maybe too much afterburners early on. That's going to be quite the hold on, but still have to climb to go, and quite the pack chasing him down, especially with the flat sections through here. An early go like that can, unless you're super confident, you know you've got the power all the way to the top. If there's a group that's formed behind, those flat sections can really roll through with some pack dynamics to chase you down there, Dave.
Agreed. It takes a superstar to be able to hold off this group as they just start. I mean, they've got the pacing advantage as well. They'll just start nailing it back. But I think this is going to come down to every man for himself on this climb here. Ultimately, is different situation with this race, and every race is a different story, isn't it? And you can see now that there is no front group per se. There's a solo leader, then a group of two, back to another group of two. So it's more like Noah's Ark than a bike race right now.
We do have the women just getting out on course. We'll jump in with them in just a moment. That is going to be the West Division 1. It's really interesting situation playing out with Turbo, one of the longest standing teams in the world of Zwift racing, currently leading that series out. We'll jump in with them as they do hit their first climb up and over the top of the Leg Snapper on the Innsbruck ring. So Women's West Division 1 is just getting out there. We will also be looking to see some of the finishes for the B, C, and D categories. We definitely want to do that. So I'll be looking to jump around a little bit as best as we possibly can within each of these divisions as the Bs and the Cs and the Ds do finish. It's a lot to be covering. Just as a heads up to everybody, we'll be getting things as they play out, but at the same time, we want to get as the best narrative as we can for some of the races too, and not just be continually jumping around all the time. So we'll be jumping in with the finishes though with these Bs and Cs and Ds as they do happen.
Yeah, I don't know who it was that said if you try to please everybody, you please no one. And that's really what the battle is here, is giving quality coverage when we are looking at you. I appreciate everybody. Would love to see your friends, and we'll get you there eventually. That's for sure. Thanks for hanging with us. But to get back to that point, we definitely are trying to tell all of your stories. And one way that makes it easier to tell them is if you tell us. So please continue to reach out. In with Morris here. Look at the damage, though, that they've done, Nathan. As it's just going to be a steady stream of solo riders by the time we get to the finish line here. They've got a little over 2.5K as we're jumping in, putting some eyeballs on the fresh front group here. That's going to be Schroeder, German rider. I was thinking a relative of Fiona Schroeder, but I think the spelling is a little bit different there. I think Fiona has an E along with the O, umlauted O.
That's a good memory. I have no idea, actually.
I think. I'll have to check. But this is certainly Schroeder
Look at
country.
the story that's playing out here, though. This is what I was talking about. If this group gets together, Hawkins, though, has extended his lead. It was 7 seconds before. So Hawkins may still be walking away with this one. But Morris, Schroeder, Green, Cole, I don't think they're really that interested in working together, though. I think that they're just trying to break each other.
Yeah. There was better cooperation in the last week of the Donner Party than what you see with these guys.
Oh, God. Those are not. If anybody who knows the Donner Party, that definitely is some serious suffering.
Didn't end well.
No, it did not go well. It's some serious suffering that's going on there. All kinds of. Yeah, we'll just leave that one at that.
That's an American story. That's an American story, isn't it?
I don't know if I want to be identified with that as an American story.
It's a story of suffering.
That's the story of America. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. All right.
No,
and as we move on, Cluin, Paltnack here, Worthington, as well as Gartner. It's going to be Panfilo there out of Italy. And this is quite the group starting to form on the chase. You know, this could be a race for second place still. If they can get together into that final little kick, and then there's really like a K of kind of flattening out falls flat, a little bit of working together, they could bring this group ahead back down. And BM Pro, they're the defenders right now on the back foot. This could put them in a little bit of trouble. 40-point lead, 40 points currently with a little bit of a buffer between them and the rest of the chasing groups for the standings right now. But I think there may be a little bit of a panic mode from BM Pro with all these teams off the front once they get into some climbing.
Well, and this is going to be interesting here because you're looking at 2 races that have scored so far. So clearly Wexia Watt is right there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens out here today. If they can end up taking top points as a team. And again, it's worth mentioning, as it's been a few minutes, that this is not an individual standard bike race, a scratch race. This is a points race format. So we have all of the bonus points, but it's team that's important here. No one individual rider. I guess there's been some cases where one rider has had an incredible day, but you're going to need the second, third, sometimes fourth rider's points in your tally to be the top team. And that's really what's the most important thing out here. So it's been close out here. The Zwift kids, too, they're part of this conversation. La French Tech. And you can see 2 teams tied there, West London Choppers and BRC2. So it's going to be an interesting division to watch throughout the rest of this season 2. I was wrong. Schroeder only has the O with the umlaut as well, no E. So don't want to take any credit for being smart when I was wrong.
Looking at the situation here with
me.
Looking at the situation here with the standings, this is one of the most interesting things playing out here in the community. Turbo, Beast Mode, Socks for Watts, Women's Racing. This is West 1 here. And talk about the teams. Rachel Elliott, the new Beast Mode, Leah Thorvalsen, Hirup Madsen. I mean, this is, as far as hype goes, I am so hyped. First leg snapper, what's going to happen right now with this women's side of racing? Rebel to the front, the new team on the block, trying to take down all the old school top-notch teams, and that's going to be Socks for Watts and Turbo versus the new Beast Mode on the scene. I'm absolutely loving this division right now.
Well, you talk about the full spectrum right there. You go back to Rachel Elliott, who is the OG. I mean, one of the most respected, I would call her an absolute icon of esports with Rachel Elliott, to Beast Mode, which are the new kids on the block with a tremendous amount of energy and some firepower as well. Leah Thorvalsen, the first ever Zwift Academy winner and another ambassador for esports. Just a tremendous job that she's done. And, when you look at that Socks for Watts
in here too. Cryogen are in here too. Sorry, Dave, but I mean, this is. I can't forget that. This is the cream of the crop. I mean, just everybody. If you want to tune in for women's racing when it comes to the community division, watch out. You are going to see absolute fireworks. This is an all-out brawl.
Nathan, I just want to clarify. So this is EMEA Women's Division One, correct? That
Yeah,
we
yeah. I'll
have
go
here.
ahead
There's a
and give you
lot of
guys. I'll give you the standings here, and you'll get an idea here. Just give me 1 second, and I'll bring them on up
no
on
problem.
the
So
on here.
while you're doing that, I'll set the table again because the women here racing on the exact same course. This is Innsbruck KOM After Party. It's a brute, no doubt about it. Leg snapper, you hit that 3 times. A lot of points, a lot of sprints that they're going to be going to. We'll talk about the fastest timed segment as well that has some points associated with it. But this is the Tyrolean Scorpion, as that finale. You just watched it with the men's race. It's quite a climb.
Real quick. Speaking of finals, we cannot miss this. I'm sorry, everybody, but this is the finish here. Hawkins just barely making it happen. 10 seconds up from it. Morris almost shut it down, everybody there. This was the men's East 2, Division 3. Schroeder, Worthington, then it's going to be Green across the line. Pautnago, that was quite the battle, but Hawkins did hold it off. We had the build up there. It looks like BM Pro are going to take a back seat in the overall there. So that's the current situation there happening. Back to the women's sprint, though. It's about to open up.
Great. So that's what we're talking about. There are literally thousands of racers in Innsbruck right now. Points, 10 points for the first woman over the line, down to 1 point for the 10th.
Beast mode. No, but it's going to be Aeonian coming over the top. Cassius Aeonian's going to make it happen with that. No, is it going to be Bristol Flyers? But I think it's going to be Cassius Aeonian. Beast mode going to have to settle for third, perhaps. Hag there. Interesting to see. We'll have to wait for the points, but nice job by the Aeonian rider. Making it happen. Another team in here. I mean, the depth of this field, if you want to show what you're worth, this is the one to show up to.
Aeonian, a great story. They've reloaded here. Now that's Jessica Cassius that we're looking at, the Dutch rider on the team, who's obviously got a nice turn of speed. This is Thompson of the Bristol Flyers team. This is nothing but stars that we're looking at here. If you're only going to watch one bike race today, this might just be the race to watch right here. This women's race is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I think they've made a split, Nathan. I'll be interested to see what's happening behind this group, but this kind of aggressive racing there, you can see the drafting power up being deployed there. That van gives you 50% more draft for 30 seconds.
Boomer just barely getting on terms. Just barely, though. Baltis here. Cryo.
Wow. The train. Well, this will come back together, actually. These women are going to get back in here.
Look at her. Matson is out, though. Fairweather. I mean, these are not riders I would expect this so early. And that leg snapper into that climb, it has put the damage on already. Oh man, this is a little bit of an upset, I think, with only having, it looks like 35 riders, maybe 40 riders making this front group.
Racers make the race. And man, is that true right now or what? As you can see, you can go after it any way that you want. A couple of teams here have obviously decided to throw reckless abandon at this one and make it incredibly hard early. I think Turbo might have been one of those teams here today. Leah Thorvalsen has been really pushing the pace up here as we take a look at Williams, Wagner, Baltus, Cassius, again, the rider who picked up those sprint points earlier. Well, they're quickly making a who's who. Race 3 here is going to be decisive when you look forward to the rest of the season. We're going to find out who really came to race here. So Turbo, there you go, picking up 30, excuse me. This is the standings after
and
two races. So
real quickly, Dave, I want to jump in here on that and just speak to another team that I didn't highlight. BRT Atomic Kittens are tied with one of the most well-known teams in the TTT that's been dominating, Socks for Watts. And I mean, that is amazing to see. I do see the chatter coming through, cheering on the BRT Atomic Kittens. Watch out for them. Another team that is the Bolt Racing team, one of the longest standing teams as well out here on Zwift. And I know I keep on saying it, but the more that I look at this field, the more that I study who's here and the team brand names as well as the individuals, I just can't speak to it enough as far as the community teams go. This is the cream of the crop for women's racing on Zwift.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were mentioning Cryo earlier, Aeonian we're looking at right now. There are multiple teams that are becoming formidable forces with, if you look throughout the day, I hesitate to guess how many Aeonian riders there are, but they'll be in the B's, the C's, the D's. And it's not just the numbers, it's the enthusiasm. And what they're doing collectively is changing many people's lives out there. You don't have to win a bike race to be a winner. And a lot of these women and men that show up and race, this is a big part of how you're defining yourself right now, is not just sitting on the couch eating crisps all day. You got to get out and do something. And if you want to do something a little intense, well, go ahead and jump into the Innsbruck KOM after party. It doesn't get any more exciting than this. Have fun, enjoy yourself, they said, as you're sitting there in a pool of sweat in that last kilometer. You don't dig any deeper than you do out here. But Turbo with 38 points, you can see how evenly mixed, because 20 points for the win, right? So, I mean, you could get to 38 a couple of different ways, right? 2 second places, 19 and 19, or a win and a third. That would be 20 and 18. But it just shows me that no one team is dominant here. With Project Beast Mode, we've been talking about how much we love having them in the mix here. 37 points for them. Socks for Watts, a super strong team with a cult following out there. They're tied with the Atomic Kittens, Nathan, that you were just talking about. Another one of our favorite teams, without a doubt. To see Aeonian in fifth, you might say, wow, well, they won last time, right? Well, one of the Aeonian teams, I was talking about Jamie Lee Wright, picking up a couple sprints yesterday. For a community team to jump into the Premier League and already make their mark like that is really encouraging for the women out here racing. You're not that far away. As a matter of fact, we have Cassie Baldy right there is an example of a woman who could more than hold her own if we were to throw her into Premier tomorrow, or, well, Monday. Premier tomorrow, they're resting. Yeah.
Speaking to Beast Mode a little bit here, Project Beast Mode, what I find also interesting is how they have taken to every time zone as well. It's not like they're just like focused in on one. I mean, it was like all of a sudden out of nowhere, they just popped up in every single one of the regions. APAC, they're at the top. Now in EMEA, they're at the top. I believe even in Americas, they have a team that's up toward the top. I mean, all of a sudden, it was like under the surface, a little bit of a kick, a little bit of a germination there, and pop, out come the root. I mean, out come this plant. It's like, where did this come from? And it's obviously got some serious fortification. They've been waiting, it looks like, for this moment to come into season 2 here. And really cool to see where Beast Mode's going to go.
Didn't happen overnight, that's for sure. They must have picked up on season 1 and said, all right, because there's got to be weeks and weeks of organizing this. All right, taking a look at this group. We talk about this course. It's completely flat outside. Well, when you're on the 3 Innsbruck ring loops here, it's basically
quick
flat.
Little reminder: we did have a lot of new viewers coming on in as we head into this second race, Dave. So why don't you take us through the course here real quick as we head into the second lap for this Innsbruck ring. We'll start taking a look around for some of the other divisions. Also, if you're here for the West men's 1 and 2. That is going to be covering Division 3 in the West 1 and 2, just as a heads up there. So we'll be jumping into those. They're starting in about 15 minutes. But let's take a look at the course again as we got some new viewers coming in.
Sure. Thanks, Nathan. It's 8.8K for these loops in town that we're looking at right now. Significant feature right there. The leg snapper. Hitting that 3 times will certainly tenderize some riders' legs. But if you can't manage the leg snapper, you're going to really have a bad time with the KOM after party. So once we've gone through all of our sprints and fastest time segments with those 3 laps in Innsbruck ring, we leave Innsbruck and start the climb. And this one is a brute. I've said already, it's the toughest climb that we've seen in the history of the ZRL, and you will be feeling it by the time you get to that finish line there. We've already watched some of the men racing in the East, and it's a very small group. You want to talk about the selection. It's basically, I don't think you're going to see more than 3 or 4 women in our front group by the time we get into that final 100 meters. So this climb defines it all, but you got to get to that bottom of the climb, Nathan, and that's where we're at right now, working our way through the second of 3 laps down in Innsbruck right now. Again, these laps at 8.8K each, and it's the leg snapper. That's the big part of the conversation right now.
Yeah, and that is what is going to tenderize things up front. It's also about making it to the sprint. What I really like about this course is that the sprint is immediately after the leg snapper, which puts the pressure on, makes it tactical. Somebody's got to be able to hang on. They've got to set up well. One of the other things about being able to set up well is I've seen a lot of riders trying to set up well for the sprint, and they find themselves off the front over the top of the leg snapper, and then they end up getting completely consumed and overrun by a freight train of a pack that comes flying down with the super tuck. Really, it's about sitting into about fifth wheel, maybe even a little further back, and then allowing that pack to carry you through. And then even over the little bump, there's a little bump on the back end of the leg snapper that you can press over. And a lot of riders, they'll kick into 7, 8, 9, 10 watts per kilogram over that. That's a waste of energy, in my opinion. You can usually hang on if you take the right speed through at 6 watts per kilogram, go back into a super tuck, and when you get to the bottom of the leg snapper, I've been in zone 1, zone 2 amongst riders who are already still up into their zone 6 with their heart rate because they didn't know how to come over the top and play the game correctly when it comes to positioning and drafting over the top of the leg snapper. Really, it's about a kick over the top, hang on, and if you want to hit that sprint, you've got to float through the pack all the way until the final 300 to 200 meters into that sprint line.
Gamification out here is such a big part of it all, Nathan. Leg snapper is only 430 meters long if you want to talk about the details of that climb. And here we go, 430 meters, but 6.9% is the average over those 4 football pitches lined up together. So you can see it's not insane, but it's enough that riders are put under pressure here. You can see a few getting tailed out the back.
Socks for
Watts. Deploy those feathers.
Look at the Sox Watts. Now, if you want to let's identify the teams and the jerseys here, Dave, for everybody.
Elliott, Baldy, here we go. Yaks up there, Nathan. Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be Rachel Elliott, Cassie Baldy, 2 of the longest standing. I've been commentating on these riders in real life events that they've made it to as well for many years here. Rachel Elliott now and Cassie Baldy both have been at neck and neck here in real life against each other here. Baldy now 6.4 watts per kilogram hanging on. Rachel Elliott's going to lead things over the top. Cryogen just hanging on to the Sox for Watts team jersey there. Beast Mode, they are using the orange kit in-game as they look to try and compete to get a kit in-game. And then it's going to be Cryogen RDT. Cryo does have their own kit in game, as you can see, with the blue and white here to try and get some identity around some of these teams. And then Team Turbo, all the current leaders in this category right now. They may fall from the leadership, though, in this category here. I'm not sure they're going to have the kind of climbers that some of these other teams will have. I think Turbo may be on the back foot when it comes to this specific course. Not overall in the series, and holding on for good points in this series, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to go up against the likes of Sox for Watts or Beast Mode to the top of the climb, or even Atomic Kittens and Aeonian.
Yeah, it's probably not their dream course. I would agree with that. That really speaks to this being a series as well. It's not always going to be perfect for you. So we might see some changes as far as what it looks like in the top 5 here. Sox for Watts looks like they're pretty well positioned. I'm trying to figure out if they've got 3 riders in this group or is it 2 here. Traditionally, historically, they're a team that certainly hosts plenty of top climbers. Certainly Cassie Baldy and Rachel Elliott are going to be a huge part of the final conversation out here. I'd have to say Pamela Levine right there. That's a name to watch. We've been talking about Thorvalsen. There's some real quality riders in this group, and they're pressing now because we got another sprint coming up. 10 points for the first woman over the line. It looks like BRT, the Atomic Kittens rider, is going to try to hold on, but I think it's going to be Cryo coming through. It's going to be Cryogen Stelvio rider.
Aeonian snipped it at the line there. Yeah, Cryo held on. Beast Mode, I think, took 3rd and 4th there across the line. But Gamp's almost able to make it happen. Went a little bit too early. She tried doing the jump with the feather power up because she did not have an arrow, which was a smart move. I mean, that's one of the smarter moves you can make if you don't have an arrow. It just didn't get enough of a gap, and they hung onto the wheel and then arrowed across the line with a freight train of speed.
Yeah, and now a little bit of a regrouping here as we still down here in Innsbruck. So what really, it's all about the massive amount of bonus points. I guess the fastest timed segment as well, Nathan. That's another wrinkle that we have in the community racing that you don't see in the Premier League. Some more points on offer for a clever team. Always, there's a lot of strategy that goes into that. That's a whole nother conversation for sure, how you best go about picking up those points. You hate to leave any points on the table out here as they're so critical. It's the name of the game.
It is the name of the game. A little bit of a break here now happening. Pamela Levine, one of the riders you were just talking about. Interesting to see off the back here. Rose there also from Sisu. So Sisu in a little bit of trouble. Cryo with Baltes. That's not a rider you want off the back here. What is going on? That's a rider I would have been expecting to be involved in the final climb. With her off the back here, that's going to put some struggle into Cryo. Now, Cryo, though, at the front here, they aren't on the attack. It looks like Satsawats here are the ones that are trying to keep the pace high. They don't want anybody coming back into this situation. Humor continues to struggle to hang on through those sections as well. I wonder if she's going to struggle onto the climb or if this was just a regroup after the sprint and a little bit of inattentiveness there coming from the beast mode German rider here, Kummer.
Got to give Amy Williams, the BRT rider, a lot of credit for the ride that she's having today, along with the American on Aeonian, Amy Henderson. As we jet back in with P on the beast mode team here. Trying to figure out who that is.
P. Humor. P. Humor. But she continues to try to get back on terms there, and it looks like Humor is not going to do so. She got back into the pack, but it might have just been a little bit too much. You can put everything in.
Yeah.
Is she going to work with this? No, she's going backwards. I mean, it's her. I think her job was to grab points out there today, I think is what the deal is here. I think that you saw her take a lot of points in the sprints. I think her day is done when it comes to that. The kind of bike she's on as well tells me exactly that. The Canyon with the DT Swiss, that's probably her highest level fast flats bike. This is not really a climbing setup here so much. So at least not an elite climbing setup. Maybe it's the best that she might be able to have, but I have a feeling that her job today is done. And the rest of beast mode with Wagner and some of these others in the orange kits, it's about the climbing now. Go ahead. I've done my job. I'll get across the line.
Yeah, and that was something we've talked about is riders being designated to pick up those early points. You can do your team a huge favor. You don't have to be in the top 30 at the end of the race, but here we go. Focusing back in on the vanguard here. Who are the women that have made this move? That's the Lioness's share of the points that we're looking at right there, rolling up the road. Yep, the next, that's about, when you look at it, behind this group, there's a few points left, but not many. This is where the race is going to be won out of this group, no doubt. Who's the best climber left? Well, that's one question, but really, what team has the best group of two climbers left in this group, 2 or 3? And that's going to win the day.
Looking at let's just go ahead and set the table about the teams here at this point as well, Dave. I mean, who is left? We've got Ionian. I mean, because really this has been a whittling down. I thought maybe we'd have a larger pack coming in here, but they've been extremely aggressive. It has not been easy at all to hang in and amongst this crowd. And we do have only, is it just Leah Thorvalsen that has made the front? No, there's 2 actually. Excuse me.
Turbo,
it's going to be Turbo with Leah Thorvalsen as well as here. Madsen, I think, is in here still.
Isn't Emmy Culling is in there as well? I believe.
Maybe it's Culling then, and perhaps it is not going to be here.
I think it is Emmy. Yeah, so there you go. So we'll still do inventory here because this is really interesting at this point. Rachel Elliott's name stands out again. I mean, one of the all-time greats out here. But certainly, as we saw Jessica Cassius, the Dutch rider on Aeonian, and Kristen Yax, I mean, Aeonian's in pretty good shape right now. I believe that they've got 3 riders in this group. That's about where you want to be right now. 3 in this group, and you are ahead of the curve.
So looking at the teams, Amy Henderson from Aeonian is in here as well as Jessica Cassius, Kristen Yax, all making this front group still. Aeonian very well set up with 3 riders at this point. Turbo does have Emmy Colling, as you did say there, Dave, as well as Leah Thorvalsen is still involved. Sabrina Kurtel is off the back, though. So it's only going to be 2 riders there from Turbo. Beast Mode, 1, 2, 3, 4 riders still involved with Alicia Haig, Dana Wagner. We've got Julia Shallow, and then it's going to be Cindy Freibel, all still involved at the front of this. Pia Kummer is off the back. We did see her just fall off, and I think it was just sprints for her on the day.
One of the benefits absolutely the carrot out in front of you for some of the teams is getting that in-game kit as Aeonian did, and it's certainly going to be interesting. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Beast Mode is this orange jersey, correct, Nathan?
Yeah, it is going to be the orange jersey
Which is
for Beast Mode that they're using. It's a Zwift
it's
generic,
a
though. It's a
level
Zwift
one.
generic.
I think that's the first jersey that you get, and it makes sense because I don't know that they're going to be in that jersey that long. To tell you the truth, it'll be fun to watch. It'll be fun to watch how quickly they get their game in jersey out here. They're going to earn it along the way, and that's what's fun. That's the real challenge out here. You can see Socks for Watch. There's another team, Nathan, that won their jersey into the game. Right? Good for those ladies.
One thing
that's a
to note, though, is that they have Beast Mode have earned a jersey in game already, though, which is also as interesting as they have kind of a leader amongst
why
them.
aren't they using it?
Because it's a world championship jersey. It's because the world champion is wearing the jersey on their team. Jason Osborne that's what I was just making a joke that they have a jersey in game. It's the world champion jersey. Jason Osborne wearing that is
the coolest jersey
going to be
ever,
the coolest jersey that is in the game and has earned it. So Beast Mode with their kind of leadership among that and that, being pretty cool to have that there. So we'll see how quickly they do get a kit in game.
Unfortunately, your teammate, if he's world champion, can't give you a world champion's jersey to wear.
Yeah, good point.
Right.
Good point. One more time over the leg snapper. With how hard this has been already, I thought they were already heading to the bottom of the Queen of the Mountain, actually.
Yeah.
I was like...
Well, you know what? We've made that selection, though, to tell you the truth. Nathan, I would bet dollars to donuts that you don't see a rider get dropped this time up the leg snapper. These women have all proven themselves. They've done it twice at this tempo. So I think we're now moving into the finale here. Even though we got a ways to go, you're looking at 21.8 kilometers into this race that it clocks out at about 37.5K out there, 37.2 to be exact. This is the group right here. These are the women that are going to decide it today.
Yeah, and speaking of a little bit more of a setup here as well, is there one rider that is isolated is going to be my question here. This Z-Sun rider, no teammates at this point. Justin, though, is a name to watch out for.
That doesn't mean she won't be the first over the line, right? That's one of the great things about a climb like this is once you hit the bottom of the climb, there's not too much a teammate can do for you. But when you look at how we score this, you got to have some teammates in this group if you want to win as a team.
Looking at this, he's Jostin Z-Sun Hypernova. She's definitely isolated. We do have Maddie Gammons in there as well from Canyon Dev. She's going to be in the purple kit. That we've seen floating around a little bit there. Another thing to watch out for, I believe, is
Iris.
Yeah, so Iris Justin, this is a rider that's been on our radar quite a lot. I'm not sure she's going to have... She's doing well over the top of the leg snapper, but her 20-minute is almost a full watt per kilogram under that, which of Rachel Elliott's is. So she's going to have to be very careful of because when it comes down to it, when they hit the climb, it's going to be woman versus woman, every woman for herself. Wow. And the reality of Rachel Elliott's ability on FTP. This is Rachel Elliott's wheelhouse. We've seen her in the time trialing type situation, just put her head down and hammer. And I think everybody's going to be watching out for Elliott. The only thing I would say, though, is if there's a punchy climber who's got a good FTP as well, that might be able to hit. You have those, a climb like this, it's not a 1 hour climb, right? It's a little under 20-minute climb. And you can kind of hit out and then get steady and hit out and get steady and hurt someone who's just a steady time trialer like Rachel Elliott.
So there are two riders. Rachel Elliott has a massive number, 5.3 watts per kilogram. But Emmy is a rider to watch here, the Italian Emmy Colling on turbo. And she's got Leah Thorvalsen and the experience of Leah right there as well. So, it's certainly not a numbers game. You can't just look at how many watts per kilo, but that is a really good indicator. And this is a moment where they're pushing hard. As you watch this go single file, the long, thin line of pain, there's a little bit of split right behind it. I believe that's going.
Gamst, BRT Hunt. Wow, the kittens here roaring like a lion instead here. The felines are off the front. And Baldy, not sure this is going to do as much as she wanted it to because the women are working together. Nobody chased her.
Well,
and that is the worst feeling. If you want them to chase, you want them to come with you. You don't want them to coalesce.
Right. The problem is for one solo rider, watch this. Watch the next 20 seconds here. That group has so much momentum that they'll just come rolling up. As this is the reality of esports and Zwift is it's very, very hard
It
to
was a good
hold off
dice
a
roll.
group
It
like
was.
this.
And if the dice roll would have worked, then she would have had a few other riders and then been able to kind of work together a little bit on the downhill, use each other's super tuck, but without anyone else, it just gets swallowed up like that. It was a great dice roll. It was valiant. It did not do what BRT wanted to do there, though.
Yeah, right. And the timing is going to be so critical here because we'd still have the beast of the climb ahead of us. Some points, though, to pick up before we get there.
Now, the men
All
are
right,
out
so-
on course. Just as a heads up, everybody, the men are out on course for the West Division, West 1 Division 3. We also have the West 2 Division 3 out in with 5 minutes to go for the start of their race as well. So we'll be on West 1 Division 3 and West 2 Division 3. Both of them are going to be covered as best as we possibly can as we finish up the coverage here of the women's race to get into their Queen of the Mountain and their final sprint here for some more points on the line. It looks like Beast Mode going to be trying to take this down again. Hey, but no, Gamps after that attack over the top, she gets an arrow power up this time, and that's going to do it for Gamps this time, I believe. Yep. Last time the feather didn't make it happen, but she's able to make it happen with the right power up through the line.
Well, the Danish rider is en fuego out there right now, absolutely animating and dictating this bike race to the rest of the field as we are going to now move into another phase. Nathan, going back to what you were saying, you can join a race here with 7K to go and still have 20 minutes of racing ahead of you here. So don't worry, folks. We'll definitely get a lot of that coverage in as we take a look at the front group now. Boy, the Dane has been phenomenal out here. Taking a look now at who are the best climbers left. We've analyzed a little bit of the data, but one thing you can't fitness is like a house with no windows. You can't look inside a rider and see what they've got. We might have a surprise out here today.
Look, in Luis Gamps, I just want to give a shout out here as well. This is one of those great stories. We talk a lot about the ability of athletes through the Zwift racing platform to continue racing and have a very balanced life and still race at the highest end. The reality of in real life racing, one of the struggles I had being a dad, is traveling all over the country or the world. Getting to World Cups was almost impossible if I wanted to put a high priority on family life. Now with this, I mean, I'm reading Luis's, and this just brings this into my mind, reading her profile on Zwift Power, former athlete for Team Mermaid Renault, 2003 to 2007. Now, mother of two, in real life, optometrist, store manager, trying to keep fit and push myself to limit. Most important, have fun while you're doing that. Practice makes perfect. Loving that profile. I think
that's cool.
That's so cool. Yeah, it speaks to the reality of being able to continue on. And I wouldn't just say trying to keep fit. She's racing against some of the best athletes on the platform right now, trying to get into Premier Division. I mean, it's so awesome to see the continuation of these careers and even budding careers in the platform.
It's funny. Saying that Louise Gamst is pretty fit is the greatest understatement of the year at this point. I love seeing the Danish riders have been awesome out here. We have Maja Winterbrandt as well. She's the Crouchen Stelvio rider from Denmark who's up in this group. Can never give the Danes too many shout outs. So that's Gamp sitting right in the sweet spot now. So she's also a savvy rider, it looks to me, Nathan. Yeah, sure, that move didn't play out perfectly, but she's a gamer, no doubt about it. That's the heart that we're looking for. When we talk about the metrics, that's the hardest one of all to figure out one rider, Nathan, before we go to the other screen here, who has proven herself to have heart time in, time out as we go past that World Championship finish line. That would be Rachel Elliott. Absolute legend. Anytime I call a race with Rachel in it, I stop for a moment and think we're pretty lucky to get to do this for sure.
Yeah, I mean that is one of the best stories among Zwift racing for sure is Rachel Elliott, and the sacrifice that she's put into all of this to be where she's at too is one of the things I would speak that really speaks to her heart. So.
Yeah, Rachel had a stroke, Nathan. Think about that. Right? I mean, and it was 2.5, 3 years ago? And she's fought back to not only be competitive, but iconic. Absolutely. That word might be overused, not in Rachel Elliott's case.
100% there. And now we'll be jumping back in with Rachel and the rest of the pack here in just a few moments as they hit the climb. But we need to see the first climb here for the West 1 Division 3 here and start to get an idea of where things stand and give everybody kind of a story and narrative about what this division is going to be all about. Taylor making his way to the front. It looks like Garricky as well. VCRT is going to be a team name to watch out for. BRT is also. Engine. ElectricSpirit.co is another team that's on my radar with this division as well. So as they do hit the climb, we'll start and set the table here, but this is going to be the first one over the top. R3R Dev is out here. I'm loving what they're doing with their team and the support of the riders that are up and coming through their program as well.
Ride, race, raise. I remember when I started doing esports commentary, that was one of the first teams that I noticed. I love what they've been all about. And here with Pain and Mountains. Nice team name for Peel here. Oh, they're going to make this into an insane experience, Nathan. Again, we're picking up this race here. They have 37.2 kilometers of racing, 3 laps in the Innsbruck ring here at 8.8K each, bringing you to the bottom of the after party KOM, which is that, so 430 meters long at 6.9%. That's the leg snapper. Well, brace yourself for this fact. It's 7.4K at a 5.5% average to get to the finish line. But these guys aren't going to wait around, Nathan.
Not going to wait around at all. And now over the top, it's going to be Pain and Mountain Pro Vision Vector Cycling Race Team A. That is your top 3 in the current standings right now. We'll try and get those standings up on screen in just a moment. Soxawatts also has a men's team. So be on the watch out for that, as I think they try to recruit and put together a good squad. D. Linden here looks like currently trying to. I don't know why. What were they thinking? You're the unicorn of unicorns here. I mean, they need the actual, don't they? I mean, where did they think wattage cottages come from? I'm not sure what's going on here. They just didn't want a Donnybrook in the middle of their team, I guess.
They said in their email they don't need a downhill sprint specialist. So I was like, okay, good. You do it your way. So actually, that speaks to when is the first time, this would be the only time for me, Nathan, that you can hear about something, the phenomenon of Socks for Watts. James Eastwood, you are an awesome person. So James has this socks clothing company. The women, COVID hits, and all of a sudden all these talented athletes are looking for their thing, their jam. They find it with the WTRL. Shout out to Martin and Steven, our friends there, who are coming up on 100 consecutive weeks of the WTRL. Reference a great article in Velo about how realistic, cool the racing is. That all being said, I got to throw it to the action, Nathan. I'm sorry. Here we go. We got to sprint 10 points for the first man over the line here.
16 watts per kilogram, almost doing a James Bevan there. Look at this, and VCRT gonna hold on to the line. It's so close, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait for the API in that one because Pain Mountain put it in the sting in the tail, as you would say there, Dave.
Was that James Bevan? It was coming.
No, pulling to James Bevan. We saw James Bevan this morning. He did 1 lap, right, and then was off, and it was just done. He did 21 watts per kilogram. 21 watts per kilogram in the sprint at that first sprint point. Took the fastest time for the segment, and I don't know if anybody's going to beat it. It was like a low 14s. It was a low 14s James Bevan pulled off.
10 points for his team. That's the same.
Look at this. 16:57 here, Dave. We're talking a 2-second difference over 300, 400 meters. Like that's sorry to speak. I mean, Bevan's this morning in APAC. If anybody wants to try and challenge that, I even during I was the productions there, and I was in the ears of Kate and Anna, and I was like, "Watch out, Holden! Give a shout out to that." The people were saying in chat he's the strongest sprinter on Zwift. I would not argue with that necessarily, but maybe Cyrus the Pros Class has something to say with that with Holden Camille, but. Trying to beat Bevan is going to be a tough day, that's for sure. That's the time to beat on the day, I think, unless Martin can give me somebody else's faster time than Bevan.
Well, Yeah, again, that's next level stuff that we're talking about here. These guys are only out on lap number one, and they are having at it, going for the jugular out here. So these, I guess, for Nathan again, trying to remember that we do have viewers joining throughout the broadcast here, as this is Innsbruck Ring that they're on right now. Today's race is Innsbruck KOM After Party. It's 37.2 kilometers of racing. It's a tale of two cities, really. You've got the 3 laps here that we call Innsbruck Ring. Leg snapper, a big part of that. A lot of flat outside of the leg snapper. And of course, the corresponding descent that comes along with it. But we watch another rider hitting out here. It looks like the Painted Mountains team is on a mission today. But a significant climb is the final chapter of, and no one is going to win this race without conquering that one. That's for sure. So we're in with Harrington of Team CLS. This is the front group here. Early going for our. So you're going to have to help me again, Nathan, because this is going to be Europe, Middle East, and Africa Division 1 men. Or excuse me,
West 1, Division 3. West 1, Division 3. Yeah, give us an idea of how many races are out on course. I mean, it's absolutely insane. I'm hearing here, James is not the fastest. Simon Nielsen took 14.482. Bevan, 14.483. It's down to 1/1000th of a second between Nielsen, and that's going to be a Danish rider, Simon, if I'm not incorrect, from a DZR team or one of the Danish teams out there, versus Bevan coming out of the UK, Army Cycling, and I think now riding for the DPAC, though. He was on Army Cycling before, but now running with the DPAC Elite and their main sprinter. I can't believe Simon Nielsen was able to pull that off.
How many watts per kilo did you say? I mean, so you can figure that Nielsen and Bevan are going to be pretty much the same number. How many watts per kilo was that? What were we looking at?
It was a 21 watts per kilogram kick. It's a 21 watts per kilogram kick.
I've never heard of a kick that high before.
It was 1500. It was 1500 watts, and he weighs, I think, he's around me and him are about the same at about 68 kilograms. So, yeah, it's insane. 1500 watts. And 68 kilograms are right around, maybe even a little lighter. So hill climb, he's a hill climb monster as well. Him and Bexy they're out in the UK hammering away at those hill climb championships and really, really focused. They are a cycling household, that's for sure.
Rachel being Rachel here as we pick up the women's race. This is her wheelhouse. As a matter of fact, look at that. I'm glad to see that the rider that we were talking about, Amy Kolink, the Italian, is there. So she's going to latch onto that wheel like a pit bull onto a T-bone steak and hold on for dear life now, as it looks like. I don't know. I'm not going to say it's a 3-rider race, as it's going to be Autogest as well, the Aeonian rider, who is on an incredible day here as well. And she's climbing like an angel right now. So let's lock this down. This is the vanguard of our women's race. It's Rachel Elliott. We've talked. It's nice that we had a chance to present Rachel's Palmares for you, as this was the OG of women's racing. She showed up in real life, a lot of doubters out there, and Rachel proved them all wrong. It's a heartwarming story. Not heartwarming to hear that she had a stroke and some vision issues, but I think that Rachel is such a bright side person, Nathan, and I'm anticipating that we hear about our friend Rachel winning some Paralympic gold medals along the way. But this is it. The 3 riders of the apocalypse out here right now on the Innsbruck KOM. So you've got Aldegest of Aeonian. It's beast mode, correct? For, I feel terrible now, I've forgotten the team for Emmy. Turbo, the team for Emmy, my bad. Along with Rachel Elliott for Sox for Watson. We go back, that's beast mode in the orange there, Nathan. And then one of the stars of the day today, Luis Gamst.
Yeah, Luis Gamst here just hanging on with the new team, Beast Mode. Beast Mode here, I think they're going to really be focusing on it. They focused a lot in on the sprints, and I think the reality here is they may not have the climbing legs to match that of Rachel Elliott or Koling or Adegeist here, but they can come across the line and grab a lot of points if they stick together and just win out amongst this group. That will be good placings for 2 riders, whereas Sox Watts may get the big points across the line if they can win with Rachel Elliott, but they may get overtaken with Beast Mode's strength in numbers in the top 10.
Can I talk some director sportif right now, Nathan? Like
Yeah, do it.
in
Let's
this
hear it.
group, ride your tempo in that group. Don't try to blow. So the risk of trying to catch the next group is not worth it when you look at the points that you've got in hand. So ride your tempo in that group, ladies. You've only got, well, I say only, right? But it's 4.2K left to the finish. Don't blow yourself up going for the bird in the bush. Keep the one in the hand, as they
Rachel's all
say.
in.
So
90,
Turbo's
190
going to love
beats per
this, though.
minute.
If they can hold on even for a second and a third out of this group, it's not bad at all. As no shame losing to Rachel Elliott, but this one's not over. Rachel Elliott, though, is just a monster out here in Innsbruck right now. So Emmy gonna give it a good chase now. That's Emmy sitting in purple of the Turbo team, and then the Dutch rider for Aeonian, Adegeest.
Real quick shout out. I know West 2 Division 3, they just sprinted across the line. We'll get some images for their next climb over the top of the leg snapper, but I did see McLaren there from No Pins, Motip RT. Actually 3 or 4 riders from that new No Pins team, and then DZR with Anderson all battling out in a sprint. We'll jump in with them in just a moment. We want to definitely highlight what's happening here in the women's race, as we do have the splits and really the winning moves happening here out on course as Rachel continues to just try and break things apart. I did misspeak a little bit there. I did not realize that Colling, the Italian rider, was such a strong climber, because I spoke maybe a little too early saying that Turbo didn't show up with climbing legs. No, I was incorrect. There's Colling here now showing that she can match that of some of the best climbing legs in the game here, and is trying to close things down to Rachel, but Rachel continues to put the fire on here. Gasoline, and it may be burning up the legs of the chasers behind.
So what I was wondering, Nathan, is for Socks for Watts, is this going to be the big play for them on the overall table, talking about the series? And it might be. They're going to move up. Cassie Baldy sitting 7th or 8th on the road right now, if I'm seeing this correctly. So it looks like Baldy, if she can maintain that position, is going to be critical for Socks for Watts taking top points on the day. Again, for those of you joining us, this is more than just a bike race to the finish line. The points that they've already earned through our bonus sections and two different kinds of bonuses. They have sprint points and a fastest timed segment out there. The majority of the points, however, are waiting at the finish line for our riders. And thank you, Nathan, picking up Cassie Baldy here. So, yeah, this is up near the front, as that's going to be Brandt, the cryogen rider, and Gamst, the other rider with her here. But Cassie right in the middle there, and the Socks for Watts blue and blue jersey, light blue and dark blue. I don't know how to describe it any better than that.
I'm hearing, we spoke to something just a little bit earlier, and I want to bring this stat in real quickly here on the fastest sprint through that segment. And that is kind of a competition that's developing throughout the day. Bevan may have had 21 watts per kilogram, but the timing may have been a little bit off compared to Nielsen. Nielsen pulled that 1/1000th of a second, I believe, with a peak of around 13 or 14 watts per kilogram. And I think it was more of a timing mixed with his aero power up, actually.
So
interesting
yeah,
enough
without
there.
seeing it, my guess would be that James
Fusion
just went
ECT.
ballistic. Right. So
and
maybe
Martin's
there was
saying he needs to have a go and slap 1,600 watts down and probably win it here. Martin says that he's going to go for it, everybody. Encouraging Martin to get on the bike here a little bit and outside of behind the computers. I absolutely love. As Rachel Elliott here now looks to try and throw down again. She's breaking this whole pack here. She continues on 5.7 watts per kilogram here. Elliott here, it looks like she's going to be able to make this happen. There's always a question in the back of your mind. If you go bottom to top, will it work out? Well, she has made this nothing but single riders across the board, as nobody has been able to hang on. And as they try to close that gap down, it's just doing decimation behind one rider. When you do this to the field, people try and chase, and it completely breaks everybody else, because anyone who tries to chase will break those who are just a percentage off of them.
Shock and awe. This is a real show of force here from Rachel Elliott. No other rider has been able to do what Rachel has done, which is absolutely decimate a strong field. This was quite a group that came to the bottom of the climb together. Rachel Elliott is next level. There's a reason why there's a lot of folks in esports who look at Rachel Elliott as one of the most inspirational riders in the history of the sport. She's putting on another clinic out there today in Innsbruck. Gone, I would say, about Rachel Elliott. Not the case with the men, although they've been doing some sorting out of their own out here. This looks like a Donnybrook of its own going on right now, Nathan. These are the men that we're joining with Addison of the CVCCA squad.
Yeah, and this is going to be the West 1 Division 3 right now, and it is a little bit of a split. They just got done with their second sprint, it looks like, and it was going to be CVCC Addison, I think, taking that down. Toward the front now, ECC Wilson is here. Romney, Electric Spirit Company, it looks like. Payne and Mountain now. Moving backwards, there's a little bit of a struggle here coming from R3R Dev. Chubby Bunny Velo. Now as well, these names. That was one of the competitions as well, was what kind of the best names that can be thrown out there. Sox Watts with Linden now still hanging on, it looks like.
So that's a decoy name. That's a great name because it's a decoy, right? You think, you don't have to worry about the chubby bunnies, do you, in esports? And then they shock you, right? They come out of nowhere on you. You don't want to underestimate those chubby bunnies.
Maybe amongst the new crowd to the esports, but some of the best teams in the world of traditional esports have always had some of the most off-the-cuff names. So, oh my God, they killed Kenny. Right. In the Americas East and West in the Americas West right now, sitting, I believe, in like 5th place overall at the top end of the Americas West, battling out with Penn Velo and a couple of the others. That's another one that comes to mind. There's all these great names out there. And I think, as long as it doesn't push the envelope too much and it can slip through,
as long as it's not offensive, I guess would be the,
over the
we don't
top,
want names that are going to hurt
top,
anyone's feelings.
Over the top. Yeah. But I mean,
right.
I think it's great. And I actually think like a team like Beast Mode. I mean, you have a lot of these traditional in real life team names that kind of have like this, I just say old guard, clean or pristine feel to them. High.
Well, Beast Mode.
Whereas Beast Mode shows up and it's like, like we're here to get it. Like
that's
kind
modern.
of a thing.
Right.
Yeah. Loving it.
Yeah. That's and that's one of the great things about cycling. There's the history and the tradition, and you don't want to forget that, but there's the future. And what we're doing right now embraces all of that. That's for sure. But I mean, one of the great things in all the talk we've done today about Rachel Elliott is there's some very cool people involved in this sport, and a lot of them are on your screen right now. There's no doubt about it. So Nathan, right now this group is whittled down. I'm not exactly, it looks like 86 starters. That's a group of less than 40 on our screen. That's a real elimination game that they're playing out here with the men out of the West.
Back with now actually our first look here at the West 2 Division 3. West 2 Division 3. I'll get the current standings for this division on to screen in just more. And it's going to be the Dead Parrots. This is a team, I don't know anything about this team, to be honest here. I'm loving this name. I mean, this is what I'm talking about here. DZR, though, also involved. Always a name to be watching out with. The Danish Zwift Riders. BRT is here as well with one of their teams. No Pins Motip RT, though. That was the team I saw in the first sprint that was all over the front end of this race. I have a feeling they're going to be the ones to watch out for, at least for the sprints. We'll see how things end up playing out for the climb. BHC, the Hot Cranks, I know them definitely from the TTT, so be on the watch out for the BHC team as well.
Do you have eyeballs on Martin right now, Nathan? Can you see him?
Yeah, I can see Martin.
Okay, because I'm going to put him to work. This will be a good test for our friend Martin at WTRL, because I love Helen McKay. Helen was commenting online that this will be nice to add this win.
I can see Martin putting his hands to his forehead right now, like, you're going to put me to work? I need more work to do?
Martin only works 22 and a half hours a day. I wanted to push further, right? Martin is a hero. No doubt about it, at WTRL, who does so much of the work to make this possible. So first off, Martin, thank you. But Helen McKay was noting that assuming that Rachel Elliott can hold on for the win for Sox for Watts, it's a nice time to give them credit for the dozens of wins that they've had racing in the WTRL in Thursdays. That groundbreaking series, which really changed esports, it's been absolutely insanely cool to see what happened there. We'll be racing number 93 this week, I believe, on Thursday. It's 93 or 94. It's close to 100 at this point. How many times has Sox for Watts won? Because Nathan, take your guess.
30.
Okay, I'm going to go just shy of that.
I think you're right
But
going just shy. I think I overshot that.
yeah, just shy. So I'm going to say 28. So 30 was a very good over-under number if we were gambling on this. So, Martin, if you're not too busy, I would appreciate some help on that, if you don't mind, my friend. That's a
Looking
lot of
through.
wins. When you look at winning about a third of the time is what we're talking about. But they haven't done them all. They didn't start racing until we got into number 55 or something.
Looking through
Big moment here, Nathan.
Yeah, there's definitely a big moment going on here, and it is going to be the no pins boys, I think, on the front again. No, DZR actually is the ones that making the move. We missed that for just a second. It's gonna be Christensen from DZR. Initially, he does have a rider right on his wheel, and that's right where you want to be. Coming through, it's gonna be Boranto Bike RT though to the front with Dobbins. Now, wait a second, is this a gap? No, this is one lap down. One lap down. Excuse me. It's gonna be the Gutierrez here. Now, that is actually the rider here out of Spain that's making things happen on the front.
All right, yeah. Well, talk about making things happen early in the race, too. It's only 15K in, but there you go. They're going to reel this one back in, hit the reset button. So these sprints have been the pinch point out here, even more so, I would say. Well, pretty fair when you look at how much of an effort you have to make. They just went over the leg snapper that we've talked about, that short, steep climb, 7% for about 400 meters. I'm kind of rounding out the numbers there. It's actually 430 meters at 6.9, but I think you get the gist of what I'm talking about. Gutierrez, though, riding on the front here in a greatly reduced group. Really aggressive racing going on with these gentlemen, Nathan.
A little bit of a
Who
kick
do they
here
think they
coming
are?
from a
Rachel
rider. Is he
Elliott?
just trying to hang on? That was interesting here from the Dead Parrots. Dead Parrots currently in fifth overall with 30 points, tied with Raymond Abaddon here in the series standings. Here comes the jump, though, and it's going to be GFT B trying to make a move out of Belgium. It looks like. Are they going to hold on? No, it's not going to happen. I believe it's going to be 15 watts per car coming from C. McLaren. And he has been the rider to watch out for in these sprints. Everybody else is cleaning up the rest of the podium points there. It's going to be his teammate, it looks like. Ashcroft going to come across the line next.
All right. Sprint 2 scored. Top 10.
You know what's funny, Dave? You're like, do you have eyes on Martin? I was like, I see everything. Watch out, everybody. like as if I just have a camera everywhere. Like there's just a camera into anywhere and everywhere that you need at this moment. Just Nathan's broadcast studio's big brother here. You have eyes on kid. You have an eyes on this. Hey, bring in a camera of this now, Nathan. Can you see this over here? Of course I see Martin right now. Like that's happening.
Well, you wouldn't, I think for folks that don't realize, how many different computers are you running to do this, Nathan? Do you have 4 different game computers going right now?
Well, that's there's a whole lot of there's a lot going on in the background. We'll just say it at that. We'll just leave it at that. And there is a lot of different ways that we run it on different days too. There's been different setups that we've gone through. The most we've had running at one time was 5. At one time, all connected to each other in one way or another in order to bring in the broadcast all together. In a single management, single producer type situation. We're starting to get to a point now where we're running maybe a couple less than that, and then having other people involved in the background of the production. So, but a little bit about how we're making the sausage here, but yeah.
All right, so the women should be getting pretty close to their finish. I know a lot of Rachel Elliott fans out there are anxious, wanting to make sure that we get to see their finish, and we will. Do not worry.
Well, maybe we broke some promises there. Maybe we broke some promises there, but
I apologize. We're certainly working on it, folks. So hang in there.
We will get the results coming on in. Rachel Elliott was able to take it down there from, it looks like, Holing. We'll get the results across the line for the women's finish. We're going to jump in with the women's B, though. across the line for sure, and as well as get the results up on the um, screen here in just a couple of moments. We are, just as a heads up, waiting on Zwift's API over to Zwift Power there, everybody. So Zwift data struggles at this time a lot, and it is something that's definitely being worked on and is a high priority to happen as quickly as it possibly can.
And with Harrington right now as the men making their way through the middle part of the race out on, well, so 3 laps down here and 3 sprints as well, along with 3 trips up the leg snapper before we make our way to the bottom of the climb of the day, the KOM after party. Looks like things settled down a little bit out here as through one of the flatter sectors, or the flat sector of the course, even a tiny bit of downhill right here. And then we start going back up.
I'm going to go ahead and jump on in with the B category here on the women's side of things. Race 3R and Rayner. We definitely, we were talking about how much we want to cover across the board with all of the categories. And as we get a little bit further on into the race day, it becomes a little bit easier to do so. Really, the East, and the West early on, everything is so packed in together. As things do calm down a little bit, and we do get riders coming across the line across all the categories, it does become a little bit easier in the later sections of the West to try and get across all the categories. So Rayner here now, race 3R, does have a 20-second gap, it looks like, with NK, with one of the Sox Watts teams here trying to chase that down. It looks like it's going to be a 1-2 here. Specker Sullivan now from CCI Race Like a Girl, Sanders from the BZR Cats, and then Driver now in currently 5th place. Just as a heads up, those standings on the upper right, for some reason currently on this specific course, as you click around a little bit, do not have exactly, because as you can see, we just went to 1st, and then I go back and this is 2nd, but then I go back a little further, it's 3rd, and then it jumps all the way to 19th. That is not correct there. Sanders is actually in 4th place right now.
So we're with the women's Bs as the A women have finished. Congratulations to Rachel Elliott. Emmy and Cassie, I believe, round out our top 3 there, but we'll be able to give you official results in just a moment and take a look at how the teams did as well. As the question becomes, did Sox for Watts do enough today to hold on? I apologize, it wouldn't be Baldy in 3rd, more like 6th. What the real conversation there was, were there enough points to take the team title for the day and move Sox for Watts up, as we're in the 3rd race of the 2nd season. Rayner, race 3R rider that we're with right now. Everybody looks like, much like the women's A race, everybody in their own world of hurt out here on the climb. Just making that solo effort, trying to make sure that no one gets you from behind and see if you can pick off a rider in front of you. It's the name of the game at this point on a tough climb to the finish line.
Looking back at 30 seconds here, it does look like it's just a pure watt per kilogram battle between these two riders here at this point. I mean, solid 3.8K there with a solid 3.9. She is maybe thinking a little bit about this racer chasing her down here. 27 seconds, though. She really just has to keep it steady and not blow up. C-Star Race Like a Girl, though, she's got to really be thinking about Sanders on her wheel here. Going to be difficult to hold that off if she fades at all. Sanders with only 4 seconds. A lot of motivation to bring this back. 5 seconds. It's going to start really running out of landscape in just a moment at 5 watts per kilogram now. Specker Sullivan now of the US of A, 179 beats per minute, putting the last dig in to hold on.
So Rayner we're with again. Help me out, Nathan. I'm a little confused here. Rayner is the leader of her race. Is this correct?
Yes.
Great. There we go. That is the front. This is the women's Bs that we're looking at. And she should have, there's the arch right there. So this one is ready to be deposited in the pain bank. Job well done.
Looking through, we'll see if we can jump on over to the C's in just a moment too as well. On the men's side of things, we do have the West 1 and West 2. They're going to be going through their second climb and third climbs on the leg snappers in just a moment. We'll be able to jump back on over to them. We're going to try and get the rest of the women's race here for their finish of their Queen of the Mountains. It's going to be Rayner first across the line for the race 3R. Socks for Watts there, 4.3 watts per kilogram coming in for K. And then it's going to be Sullivan. She's able to grab a solid 9 seconds over Sanders so far. So comfortably, we're going to be able to put her hands in the air and finish things up alone across the line. Driver now, it looks like the next one in a Zwift Academy kit. Good to see. Sporting the Zwift Academy kit. That's a well-earned jersey in game.
Yeah, a lot of exciting things happening right now as we were just learning about the Zwift Duathlon League kicking off on February 17th. That's great. We're going to have to get you into the duathlon game, Nathan.
I did enough running in October. I'm done.
I saw you running.
I'm done. I'm done running.
You're gonna focus on the two-wheeled aspect there. So this is going to be Specker Sullivan across the line for the mighty Sisu I Race Like a Girl team. Boy, they're on a roll lately. Good job by Sullivan there. Sanders now, the BZR Cats 1 rider, going to finish. That's their theme, Nathan. The big cats, the lions, etc. Good job by Sanders. His driver now has got the finish line in sight. This one is done and dusted. Big day on the bike out here. Hour and 7 minutes to get to the line.
Yeah, Shambler with WTRL. Socks for Watts with Mac. It looks like Limpscomb. This is a long-standing name amongst the Zwifters out here. So CCR Race Like a Girl, trying to make her way through for, this is a top 10 finish, actually. We are seeing, as you can see, the numbers jumping around a little bit, but these are definitely top 10 finishes still. I believe just maybe outside the top 5 for these ladies. SWW Bollinger now.
Though. These are where the points really are stacked up at this point. You know, we're looking at 25, 24, 23 points, which really help your team's tally. And that's, again, I know I've touched on this before, but we don't score this as just who won the bike race. It's all about the top 30 riders and the points. And also, more than even that, some designated riders that might have been able to snipe some points early in the race at the bonuses. Those all get thrown in the same team pot. We see who has the most, and that'll be our top team on the day. So these points here really matter. We're right in the meat and potatoes of the scoring now.
Going to jump on in with the C category for the women as they finish up. And this is a well-known name here, Dave.
Yeah, Carissa Mind out of North Carolina, one of our favorites. Good job out there, Carissa. Wattage Cottage right now, huh?
Top
nice
10
group
too.
With her.
This is quite the ride for Carissa
ride,
in the top 10, and she's super light rider. She's locally around some mountains here. Maybe been doing some work, over the summer as well. So good to see Whiteman. Sonia Whiteman only a couple of places ahead. That is, some top talent. And I think she's in the broadcast right now because you saw the little bit of a kick. She's on the attack. Maybe some motivation coming on through. Socks Watts with Archer. This is a battle. These are familiar names in this C category, that's for sure. It's great to see this battle playing out as TFC Storm. That's going to be these two with Carissa and Best battling it out, trying to put Socks Watts and KRT on the back foot, it looks like. Up ahead, it's going to be Fox for Socks Watts, Aspenheim, as well as McQueen. At the front, though, see if we can see, it's going to be Willis, which is going to be the teammate of Carissa. See Willis here battling with the Z-Sun rider here, Sultana.
So the women's C's, yeah, that's the name of the game. TFC looking to stack up stacks on stacks with the points here. We'll see when it's all paid whether they did enough. But yeah, they're having a great ride today, no doubt about it. So much racing going on in the world of Zwift, especially through this part of the day. Absolutely incredible. Thousands of folks had the courage to clip in and race out here today. So good job, everybody, as we're in now with so in Europe, we have the East and the West. The women, we combine it into one massive division. These are the C's that we've got going to the finish line right now, and they're well inside of 1K to go with Wills here. So we still have plenty of racing in this wave, and then we'll move into the Americas in a few hours, as we'll have America's East to kick that off, and then move into America's West to wrap up the community day. With nearly 10,000 racers out there, Nathan, this is it's a great day for bike racing every Tuesday and Thursday. Look forward to seeing you all joining us with the WTRL and that movement of the people. This is Scott of the mighty Z Sun R program.
Sultana now in a little bit of attack here. It looks like over Willis with the TFC team now. Scott now 28 seconds. Ridgeway, Bella Velo Cosgrove there. That's the battle there for fourth and fifth, trying to break Kelly from Chasers BCS as well as the Aeonian rider. They're 3 seconds back from then. Whiteman then on her own on the chase, it looks like, as she's been broken off, trying to hold off Pool there from the Aeonian team. Then it's going to be a little ways back with Min. And that chase group with TFC Storm heading up the 2 up there, but it was Archer from Sox Watts that was able to bring that back. Carissa continues to put the hammer down and try to break that pack and get some solid points for her team. Now, this is going to be the sprint to the line between Sultana and Willis, though, for the C's West women here in Division 1.
All right. So just a few hundred meters to go. They'll see the finish arch here. I wonder if we'll get a 2-rider sprint. Never feel more exposed than in this situation. You and one other rider. Pretty simple. Who's going to get to the line first here? The Friday Criterium rider Wills. Sultana for Z Sun R. That easily recognizable red shorts and white jersey. I always like that kit. Stands out quite nicely. Feather being deployed, so 10% lighter for 15 seconds. You can see the difference that makes. That's a game changer there. That might be just enough. The feather that broke the camel's back right there.
Yeah, interesting to see here. Willis not able to hang on as Sultana now pulls on that. Look at the Tron wheels glowing, lighting up there with the wattage as Z-Sun are going to do it again and take this down for the win. Women's C in the West Division. Awesome to see Great Britain taking down Willis right now. Welshman, so within same region here is C. Scott as well, trying to break the Bella Velo. Voltana is going to take it down, it looks like, with only 300. Is that 300? 200 meters to the line. Already past the 300 meter mark.
All right. So, well, that was a good example of saving that power up, using it at the right time. That when you deploy it, that gap opens up, and you can see that breaks the spirit as well, as Sultana is going to come through, finishing things up for our C's here.
And then Willis now for second place. TFC Storm, they are really ones to be watching out for in this category. See if I can bring up some of the standings here for this category for the women, because TFC Storm, I think, have been taking this category by storm. And the dominant, in a lot of ways, well, so in fourth place overall currently, 32 points. But I think today is going to change that up a little bit for them. Bella Vila?
Ridgeway across. Go ahead.
Scott, Kohlberg, it looks like. Poole, it looks like. Whiteman, and then it's going to be Fox from Sox or Watts. This is rounding out your top 20, maybe just outside the top 10 at this point. Fox, then Sox or Watts. Next one to be coming across the line between Min there with that 4-second gap that she was able to pull off. Cryogen trying to chase down the F Fox for Sox or Watts rider. Aspenheim there from Z-Sun, another rider trying to grab some points. Her teammate across the line for first place out there today. Eat McQueen there from Fearless. I think the first Fearless rider across the line today. Min holding off her teammate Best, who is looking to break the KRT rider, but it's games behind. This is Carissa Min's worst nightmare, because she is a climber through and through. The sprint to the line is not what she wants to see. She may be happy to see Best break the other riders, but will they be pulled to the line for the sprint? And Carissa, no, hold on. And it's going to be Sox Watts with an arrow power up. Does Carissa have one? It's not going to happen. It looks like Carissa, after all of that work, it ends up flattening out. And Archer from Sox Watts might be making this happen right now.
Well, that great example there of never throw in the towel until it is over. So Archer weathers the storm, the barrage there from TFC, and ends up out of that group taking the top points. So we'll see if that makes the difference in the C's for the Sox for Watts team. As we said, every point matters, and that was a good example of how hard they fight all the way through the field there. Keep your head up, Chris. A good job out there. Looking good.
We'll jump in with the D's for the women in just a moment here, but we do have the West 1 Division 3 onto the climb. They're about halfway up the climb here at this point. So let's go ahead and see how things are playing out with those men out here today. The men's West 2 Division 3 are also about to start their climb. And we do have, it looks like Garricky here as well as Drake, two-man breakaway that started at the bottom of the climb. They were looking for a bottom to the top, and they, on those first little switchbacks, started making things happen.
So this is the America's West Division
EMEA, excuse me, European West. I might have said America's. My fault if I did.
Okay, so this is European West E1 D3.
Correct.
Okay. Just giving you a feel for how many racers we have out here, right? Absolutely incredible. All right, so picking up the axe. They're close to the finish, actually. Not that far to go as we join the guys here. That's going to be less than 3K until this one is finished up.
Tied at the top of this leaderboard for the West 1 Division 3A is going to be SG Athletico Bodelsdorf with Provision. Now, I don't see too much of the Provision, though, in this top 10 currently. Unless G. Drake is riding for them. Again, as a reminder, if you're jumping in here and you're getting on a little bit of what we call TV time at the front of the race, I know a lot of times we don't always cover these divisions. As we do start to spread things out a little bit, there is a little bit of a protocol, around the tags in game. If they can be as close to what we're having in some sort of way in the results list, what you're putting in with WTRL for your tags in game with a team name in some sort of way, it does help us a ton so that we can identify things. A lot of the old schoolers will know there was very specific ways of putting your tags in brackets. It used to all be tracked that way in a lot of ways. Some of it was still tracked through WTRL, but in Zwift Power as well, to be able to identify who was who through the game and then on over to some of those third-party websites to figure out what was going on. So it does help us a ton as well in the broadcast to figure out who's who. We do know, though, of course, as it's new to a lot of riders, and a lot of riders new to this, well, what does it matter? I just ride for this team. I sign up, and in the back end, it knows what's up. I don't got to change anything. It is a little extra time, but it does help with the identification of who is who and where they're standing with the screen, as well as what we got for on-screen graphics.
Yeah, so thanks for taking the time to do that as we get a look at the standings after 2 weeks of racing. So what this tells you, it's actually pretty simple, is that SG Atletico and Provision have both won once and finished second once. So we've already had a team time trial and a points race out there. So we'll see who gets the better today, and that may or may not decide who's our leader. One thing's for sure, one of those teams will move ahead of the other, and the deadlock there at the top, tied at 39 with Vector Cycling Race Team A, just 1 point ahead of Engross there for third and fourth. Team CLS Orange Army at 33 points, just 1 point behind fourth. So that's pretty close up there in the top five, and we're just getting going here in season 2 of the ZRL. Less than 2K to go.
Quick little heads up here as well. Something, on the women's side of things, I always want to highlight as much as we possibly can, and it is going to be in the women's D category. What an effort here. 1 hour and 17 battling at 178 beats per minute after 3 times over the leg snapper. This is, for a D category race, that is a big day. And what a battle here, as we do have the Polish rider UKS Kometa J Nigna coming to the line. The Dolphins won there 222 back, actually. So Niga here, maybe at the upper end of her category. We do see her on some of the newer Zwift equipment as well. I'm going to go ahead and take a look here and see. This team UKS Kometa Gliwice, actually a Polish team it looks like. And this is a level 11 Zwifter. Her first race is on Zwift Power December 27th. And this is my favorite part of the day a lot of times. I get really excited about the sprints, the big power, all that stuff. I get just as excited about new Zwifters in the race scene, jumping in, getting some cool TV time, and the new teams that are forming around it. It's so exciting to see people at every level of the sport getting involved in this new racing scene.
This is the most stylish level 11 Zwifter I've ever seen. She's got it well put together with a great ride. There's the finish line. This one is paid. Niga, nice job out there.
She's got some Queen of the Mountain gloves too. Those are pretty exclusive. Interesting enough to see.
Doing a lot of events. Yeah.
I think she got those over the top of Alpe de Zwift, if I'm not incorrect. I mean, that's pretty awesome. A level 11 Zwifter grabbing those.
That's when the roulette wheel thing rolls, right? You come across the line, and then I got a helmet out of that deal.
Of course you did, Dave. Of course. You only did it once? Are you going to do it again?
Do I get more stuff? That's what I want to know.
You do get more stuff. You do get more stuff. You do get more stuff.
All right, then I'll do it again.
The line. Dolphins won here now with the herd making her way to the line. This is going to be, if I can get Zwift Power to help me out with the name here. It's a lot of climb. I think this is Alex Reed, if I'm not incorrect.
632 meters. That translates into 1,800 feet in an hour and 19 minutes. That's a big day on the bike right there. Good job. As we watch the Dolphins one rider finishing up. That's in our women's Ds. Back in with a 1.2K to go with Drake and company here into their finale. And they are motoring here. I mean, they're hitting close to 30 kilometers per hour on an 8% grade. That is out of this world riding. Good job, guys. As it's pitching up and down a little bit. Looks like we're going to have a 2-rider sprint. I wonder what they've got. That's always, we're talking about sniping other players' games, but you do wonder, have they got a feather? Have they got a helmet? Have they got a van? What are they going to drop on you?
I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to figure out on Drake, this rider here, because Gerke is definitely in for EPS from what I'm seeing here as his main team. He might be guest riding for our ABD. Tom Harmner, just a little ways behind, but I'm not seeing G Drake in any of the current ZP. So perhaps a rider who snuck in and amongst the WTRL racing here, or maybe there was an issue with connecting his ZP account and he's jumping into the racing here. So maybe it was a rider who jumped into the team and missed a memo about connecting the Zwift Power account, or maybe just slipped through. No, Giles Drake is there. Excuse me. Just showed up. That's on me. Zwift data. It's a Zwift data issue. So good to see. Real world days at 20. We're trying to see, he's a mountain biker from what I can see. He's a level 17 Zwifter. He's an A+ coming on through. So definitely a top end racer, it looks like. Has done a lot of homework, it looks like, as to verifying all of his power numbers as well. So great to see that he's showing up as a level 17 Zwifter, but knowing exactly that. You don't usually see that, Dave. A lower level Zwifter coming in and knowing the ropes as far as how to get all the verification across the board. So very cool to see, because his first race was on January 6, 2021. Won the race for OMIKM, Ascenders Team Watopia as well, Pretzel Family Challenge, and won the first race on January 12th in Season 2, actually, in this division. So this is a rider to watch out for. He's making a name for himself here, Giles Drake.
Yeah, if you can get yourself all verified and manage all of that, you might as well be the IT person for your family, because you can handle just about anything as far as that goes. Hey, Martin got back to us with the answers to the questions about socks for watts, so I want to let you all know. It's a pretty incredible string there. That's Rachel Elliott we were talking about earlier, as she won the women's race, and she's part of that Socks for Watts team, who have been the strongest franchise in the WTRL, if you ask me. So they've taken part in 37 total. They've won 33 of the 37 starts that they've taken. However, 29. So right in between us, Nathan. You said 30, I said 28. It was 29
Split the difference. We'll
Platinum
split
League.
the difference on the
Right.
on the on the take there, Dave. We'll split the difference on the take.
There we go. And so
500
they
meters to
first
the line
appeared
here.
in,
500 to the line.
okay, two-rider sprint. These are always fun to watch. This is where you wonder who's got the feather.
Drake
Does
has been
someone have the
showing us,
feather?
it looks like, that this guy's just got the efforts. He's got
Gone.
the
Look at
the
that.
power. Really strong
Yeah,
rider. He got the jump here, it looks like, on
gotta be that.
the Gerke here. It looks like 2 seconds, and I don't think that's getting closed down with something like a 12 to 15 watt per kilogram sprint coming from Gerke. Not going to be happen. And the German rider is going to have to settle for second. As Giles Drake makes it happen for
Hey, that's a strong
Provision.
second. So, yeah, but that's a lot of points for second. 35 there. So your team is going to be loving your effort, but Drake getting it done. Outstanding job, gentlemen. So there it is. First two across the line.
Yeah, Harmer now. Next one to be coming to the line here. Solid little effort here in this West Division 3. West 1 Division 3. Tom Harmer for PMRR. Tim Humpton, it looks like. Mac Mellis. They're all going to be battling to the line as well. Linden is there for the Sox for Watts team, as we do see Harmer cross the line. Electric Spirit now next one. Sox for Watts, a little bit of a battle here with Linden and MJR, but that's not going to be working out for MJR. It looks like Johansson, though. Little bit of a kick. They might actually get it at the line. Excuse me, I spoke a little bit too early, I think. Oh, Sox for Watts not going to hold on. And nice little kick there coming from Johansson. A couple more coming across the line, but we're going to move on over to the other race in West 2, Division 3, and that is going to be with the boys from No Pins really putting the hammer down in that West 2 Division 3 right now as we look to move over there. They're quite the battle, and they have shown up. They not only are hammering the climb, they have been absolutely dominating the sprints as well. So they're going to be really putting some points up here as we have Ashcroft on the front for No Pins. Motip RT.
Whew, boy, it's hard to believe that we're just in the middle part of the day of racing now. What a phenomenon the ZRL has been. And wrapping things up now for the Europe, Middle East, and Africa West men. And this is Ashcroft here of the No Pins, another team that's come on strong. No Pins Motip RT. Still another over 100 meters to the finish line from here. So it never lets up, this climb. Not steady at all, because you can see it's only a 2% grade right now, but that'll change.
He's got a 10-second lead here at this point with Ashcroft. Ashcroft, definitely one that was on my radar early on with this group. We'll see if we can find some of the information here on Ashcroft, because I think this No Pins team, they've been showing up and really starting to throw some results down. It actually surprises me a little bit that they're into this Division 3. I have a feeling they're going to be getting some upgrades coming on here, because they're really on a domination, it looks like, at the front end of this. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders all in the top 6 right now.
Wow.
The only one in the middle of it is going to be GS Mosa. So they've definitely stacked the field here.
This kind of reminds me of Saris, the pros closeter. We've had a couple of these situations that have happened where one team has had 5 of the top 8 riders in their division. And I think that's what we've got in this case as well. So one of the beautiful things about the ZRL, though, Nathan, it all sorts itself out as eventually adjustments and changes are made to get the right racers racing against each other. The demotions and promotions are
situation here. I mean, No Pins Motip, they 20 points and 20 points. They're undefeated so far. DZR Danish lost. They're the only ones that have been even close. Triathlon Club, Raymond Abaddon, Dead Parrots, nowhere to be seen really on the top 10 at this point. So it looks like it's going to be 3 for 3 for No Pins Motip RT. I think we can also jump in with the Bees with the West 1 in just a second here and give everybody an idea of what's happening over there with them. I think because No Pins, they're going to be, we'll get the finish here for the No Pins boys, but we also definitely want to show off what's happening with TFC Thunderbolt. It looks like they're having a good ride out there today in the West 1 Division 3. And TFC obviously have shown up in the EMEA. We saw TFC Storm with a solid effort battling it out amongst the women in the C category just a little while ago. And now here we do have TFC Thunderbolt toward the top end of this West 1 Division 3. We'll try and see if we can get some of the current league standings for this as well and get an idea of where things stand in this B category. It was in the A category, SG Atletico that was leading things out amongst this crowd. But in for this B category, it is going to be TFC Thunderbolt that's at the top. They are being chased, it looks like, by 9 AP. I'm not seeing 9 AP anywhere close, though, behind. Team Type 1, it looks like they're on the chase. I'm not seeing Team Type 1, though, in this over. Oh, no, there they are. TT1, excuse me, BGs. They're in third place with 33 points, tied with Cryogen Galibier. So with Basso and then F365.
Thunderbolt and 9AP are tied at 39 points. Each team has had a win and a second.
Good
So
call there,
just
Dave.
because Zibrank is going to win, I believe he's going to win if things hold on, it doesn't mean his team is going to win the day. So it's always interesting when you look at this. Now, yeah, that's a good sign, and certainly taking the 40 points at the finish is a huge help. But he's going to be relying on his teammates here if they want to move into the standalone lead in Division 3B. For the EMEA West.
He's got about, it looks like, a K to go to the finish line or so here, Dave.
A little
Team
less,
Type 1,
I think.
Yeah, they're working well together here. Team Type, well, they were working well together. It looks like Daly went on the chase. 27 seconds. I don't think that's coming back. A little bit too little, too late. Timmy Lund here coming out of Denmark trying to
Team Type
also
1's going to
hold
move
on.
up. They could take the day, to tell you the truth. If they take second and third, that's a lot of points there.
I'm
I
not
believe
seeing
it's
Thunderbolt
35.
anywhere near.
Yeah, they don't have
except
another rider in
for
the top 10.
Ghent
as
would
far
be
as
the
I can.
next rider. That would be the
Right.
next rider here.
So there's a lot more points for second and third. So let's see here. 10th and a win are going to get you pretty close to, I want to say 60 points. That's pretty close, actually. As a second and a third, that's going to be, actually second and a third gets you significantly more points than a first and a 10th.
Just jumping over real quickly, as we don't want to miss another finish here, as we do have Ashcroft coming to the line very quickly. No pins, Motip RT. They're going to be taking first, second, and third. Perhaps the only battle would be Dart, who's trying to really put a little bit of a wrench in that plan. Not too much of a wrench, as no matter what, it's going to be rounding out the top 5 with nothing but no pins riders. But Ashcroft showing the strongest on the day. Ashcroft here. Now, 190 beats per minute, 200 meters to go. His job is done. At this point, it's just all about having the fastest for the segment, really, as he continues on at 6.6 watts per kilogram.
That's another very good point, right? The bonus there in this situation, how could he? It's almost, it's imaginable, but there's almost no way he doesn't have the fastest for the KOM as well, which comes with a nice little bonus of points as well.
Exactly. And, that bonus is really important to grab for the points on the day. And it does end up being a pretty cool way that there's some gamification going on within the teams, and the teams can work together where you can roll around and say, I'm just going to get to the bottom of this climb and go full gas to the top. And if perhaps there's riders that did that, there's riders that didn't go, they just didn't even put anything into the leg snapper and just waited, and you have to wait till the end of the day to figure out if maybe there were a couple of points gained that way. 14 watts per kilogram. McLaren was saving.
Wow. Living up to his last name, this man is a race car right now as he deploys that van, and that ought to do it here as McLaren will come across the line, showing the rest of the guys. You can see the finish gantry.
Webster also getting a little bit of a gap, and all the no pins boys actually looking to gap the Dart. Is not going to be hitting the bullseye. It looks like here it's a little bit off chart, as Mosa's going to have to settle. It looks like no pins, even rounding out the top 6. Absolute domination here coming from that team.
Yeah, good day. That's for sure. As we take a look at a three-rider group coming into the line now. All right, these are always fun to watch. I don't care if it's for the win or for 50th place. It's always fun to watch a group like this coming to the line. Let's see who's got it. They got another rider coming up on them here. Every now and then you get a couple dogs fighting for a bone, and a third one will come and take it. In this case, it's the fourth one that might come and take the points. Remembering there's a lot of points here. That is a super effort that we're witnessing here. Is that Hale that we're looking
Davies
at?
almost made it happen. Davies almost made it happen.
Good for him.
Was able to hold off.
Pickpocket.
Yeah, he grabbed a lot of
Pickpocketing
points there.
there.
Worthington
Yeah,
from
nice
BRT
job.
coming across the line. It's so great to see all these familiar names for so long that have been a part of the Zwift community, as I just saw Mark Worthington on the screen. Always great to see. Let's see if we can jump into the C category now, as get a couple of the names. And then we'll be finishing up the broadcast here in the next 20 to 30, maybe 15 to 20 minutes here at this point. And we'll get the results up for a lot of the categories that we just covered as soon as we can. We do have a lot of lag on Zwift data at this point. So we will be working our absolute best to be getting those results up. If you do not see results at the end of the broadcast, make sure to head on over to WTRL. And they will be up as soon as they do have those for you. C category now, though, being led out by Nielsen Harrop for MDVIG Colnago. GG there coming from BRT Development Fails. Jose Ant Marcos, Victor Sid. It's going to be Rob Graham, Charles Harkis. MDV really at the top end of this category, though.
I was hunting around on eBay for an old 1980s Colnago the other day. I'm going to get one of those. So Harrop finishing up. Legacy brand, for sure. It's got about a K to go here. This is so when you look at this last K, it gets steep and then it finally flattens out a bit as you go to the line. So this is the last real tough pitch that you have to get through that Harrop is on now.
He's got quite a gap here. It looks like it's solo bottom to top. Zwift España are involved, it looks like, though, as they look to try and close things down a little bit here with Daniel ZG. Three riders. This is going to be their race to lose, maybe, when it comes to the point structures, because they get these riders in the top 10. You can chase down that second place, too, with GG from BRT. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and these riders all know that it makes the suffering that much sweeter when you finish knowing that you're able to collect points for your team. And even better is not giving any away. So the last thing you want is, as we saw just a couple minutes ago, a rider catching you right before the line and snatching some points away from you. This is Sid right here of the Zwift España team, who's going to do exactly that, punching a ticket here, riding his pace, motivated by a rider right in front of him, GG of the BRT team.
Yeah, the BRT team he's riding for is Development Fails. A little bit of a joke there coming in from that team. I'm not sure what that means. But GG, he's a level 13 Zwifter, hammering
That's the
away
same thing
here.
as a master development team, right? Usually it's juniors that you see. But
Harrop now continuing on with that MDVIG. I'm trying to get an idea of where this team stands in the overall standings. I'm not seeing them right this moment in the overall standings. Perhaps I'm looking in the wrong place for the C category. But in the West Division 3 C, as well as the West Division West 2 Division C, Division 3 C as well. I'm not seeing anything that looks anything near this team name. Interesting enough to see. So maybe a newer team, or perhaps this is what they rode for in the TTT. We'll see if we can figure out what's happening with this team. I might get some information from Martin here in just a sec.
Yeah, there's obviously so much data with all of the different racers and looking at our leagues and standings on the day. So bear with us here. We'll get that all sorted out. You can always go to WTRL.racing for the most up-to-date information on the leagues and what's happening. And exciting announcement, as I was mentioning, about Zwift Duathlon Racing League coming up. So I know a lot of folks will be excited about that as we continue to push into new frontiers here. Harrop's got this one. He's got time to stop, have a cup of coffee, relax a little bit, and get back on the bike and finish. Still win.
Yeah, I mean, he really put the hammer down here in this
Nearly 3 minutes
in this
front
race.
of the chase. Yeah.
Absolutely dominated, it looks like here. So in this C category, and that for this across this category, that'll be as far as we go in this West One Division 3 across. There is no D category, so that would make a lot of sense that we're not going to anybody else.
We
in
cannot
this.
go any deeper.
We can't go any deeper. That's as far as it goes. We've gone as far as it goes amongst these riders as we jump in with Blue Steel, the model who's looking to make he's looking to make his way into Hollywood here. Hopkins now with F365 in the B category, coming across the line in just a moment. As we are jumping around a lot, everybody. I think we're starting to lose our ability to find riders any longer amongst all of the categories. We'll see if we can maybe find some of the B's and the C's, though, across EMEA West 2. But at a certain point, it does kind of break down for us as we try to cover as much as we can. I do believe we are waiting on a lot of results here. Dave, as we come back in here, want to see if we can grab some results. I have a feeling we are waiting for the results to come on in, and as soon as I get some information here, I'll let everybody know. But what to look forward to for the rest of the day, Dave?
Yeah, we'll take a couple-hour break, and we'll be back with the Americas East. We've got women and men's racing. These are another fun zone to race in, really high-quality racing. And then we'll move into and have Kate Bates. Kate right now is asleep, I hope, in Australia. So she'll wake up and actually, it's probably more like breakfast time for Kate, I would imagine. But she's awesome. You'll really enjoy her joining us for the last race of the day. That would be America's West. So plenty more racing to come. And again, this is not abnormal, as all of this data really bogs down. I mean, literally hundreds of races, thousands of racers over the last couple of hours. So hang in there. They'll work until the results are dialed in, and you'll be able to. I know Nathan always likes to get this up on the broadcast, and I really understand that. You guys love seeing that. It makes a great screenshot for you to show. So we can appreciate why you want it, and we do too. That's for sure. But sometimes we don't always get what we want.
Yeah, I'm being told that we do have EMEA East. Everything else is on hold. You'll have to wait until later today on WTRL.racing. So make sure to head on over there. You can also find all of the broadcasts and everything that we are doing, all of the upcoming announcements of new series. There's lots going on as far as new stuff besides just the Zwift Racing. Zwift Racing League obviously happening on Tuesdays, but there's also the WTRL TTT on Thursdays. Besides that, we've got obviously the duathlon series. There's a lot going on over at WTRL. So if you want more to do with Zwift Racing, definitely go over there and check it out. We do have the EMEA East though. Let's go ahead and check out what happened with that, Dave. This is the East 1 Division 3 A's. Here's how things ended up playing out.
All right, well, let's take a look. It was a great race. It really was. You can see it was less than an hour until it was paid 56.19, the finishing time. For the very efficient, you can see 4.5 watts per kilo, a little bit less than everybody else in the top six. Christoph Diem, the German, getting it done. Flow Cycle really impressed us, the French rider. Finishing in second, Colin Ward in for third. Mark Vraal, the Belgian, was big part of the storyline today. He'll take fourth. Alex H., the German, in fifth. Rodri Lord, our Lord, the Welsh rider, big part of the conversation. Both Rodri and Dewey were both animators today. It was James Wilson in seventh. Owen Pryor for eighth. Again, Dewey Lord in at ninth. And then Toby Simpson rounds out our top 10. That's the EMEA E1 Division 3A. Great covering them today.
And then in the B category, Grant Smith comes on through for first place at a 101.51. Richard Ray there for second, a minute back. So it was a good little break from Grant there out of South Africa. James Tiger coming on through for third. Jens Schumann for fourth. It's going to be Tom Kiley for fifth. Steve Colby in sixth. Martin Kostanek there in eighth. Simon Evat there for seventh. And then Simon Evo there in Evat in eighth. Paul Absalom in ninth, and then Jan Becker, they're coming on through for 10th place, all within about a 2-minute gap of each other.
Well, we took on the toughest climb we've ever seen in the ZRL, and Carlos Ferreira cracked the code, taking the win there in our C division. Alex Anton, Argentinian, in second. James Chant in third. Josh Metcalf in fourth. Mike Smith will take fifth today. Marco Cunha in sixth. Joaquim Jacobson for seventh. Colin Hogan, eighth place. Ninth for Kieran Kennedy. And 10th place for Tom Collier. That's our E1 Division 3 Cs.
I'm just going to check, and there are no Ds in that division, just as a heads up there, so we will not obviously be showing any of that. And then in the we did cover the EMEA East too, and it was Ollie Hawkins. We saw him with a solid gap, able to hold off for 5 seconds. They almost caught him at the line. Johnny Morris taking tons of sprints and ends up in second for the sprint from the group that was trying to chase him down. Walt Strother coming on through for third. Dave Worthington followed up by very closely, only 4/100ths of a second to Giles Greening, and then it's going to be Phil Cole for sixth. Pele Palnak there in seventh. Marco Panfilo in eighth, Job Kluwen in ninth, and then Tobias Gartner coming in for 10th place across the line. That is the EMEA East 2 Division 3A.
Now for the 3Bs, and it was Jim Hughes taking the gold, silver medal for Chris Ophir. Third place, the bronze going to Jack out of UK. It's Chris Schmidt fourth, Nikolai Wenner in fifth, Arthur Krosnier in sixth, Daniel Bolton for seventh, Ulrich Sorensen in eighth, Darren Impey in ninth, and Ricardo Gama rounds out our top 10 for the Division 3Bs.
And then in the C category, Sylvain Merritt, Leighton Smith in second, David Tilsed in third. It will be Matthew Coley in fourth. Josh Naylor coming through for fifth. Laura Mason there coming in for sixth. It's going to be Craig Hamilton in seventh. Sally Ozane in eighth. Palet Dani in ninth. And then it's going to be Julian Dahamo in 10th. And one of the things that I like to see there is that this is a mixed category. It looks like we've got some awesome
Laura Sally,
ladies. Yeah, hammering away amongst the men there. Great to see.
Yeah, absolutely, Nathan. Super cool. Put a gold star next to their names.
And then for the women, Rachel Elliott there, Dave.
That's so nice to see. Rachel, always gracious. What a champion. Rachel Elliott, you're not a gold standard, the platinum standard today. Way to go, Rachel. Emmy, you impressed a lot of folks today. Emmy Kolink there, the Italian, for second. Los Adagast also made that select group of 3. Quality racing today, ladies. Elisa Haag in fourth, Dana Wagner in fifth. Louise Gamst, we talked a lot about Louise today. She was fantastic for sixth. Tammy Miller moves into seventh. Cassie Baldy holds on for eighth. We'll see if that's enough for Sox for Watts. Good job, Cassie. Julia Shalau in ninth, and Maya Winter Brandt rounds out our top 10. That was a dynamite race to watch today for the women in the EMEA Women's 1 Division 1A. West
and
1.
Then in the West 1 Division 1B, Lizzie Rayner comes on through 106.02. We saw Nicola Kay there crossing the line right behind her. Laura Specker Sullivan there for our CCY Race Like a Girl in third. Debbie Sanders in fourth. Lucy Driver in fifth. Pamela Shambler coming in for sixth. Sarah Mack in seventh. Rachel Hackman in eighth. Kristen Lipscomb. And then Rachel Majors, that's 9th and 10th place, all within 2 minutes. Solid efforts there to the line for them in the Bs.
For the Cs, it was Vicky Sultana impressing, shocking the world with the win today. Way to go, Vicky. Carol Wills of TFC, the Welsh rider, good for silver. Sarah Kelly In third, Kat Ridgway for fourth. C. Scott in fifth. Lizzie Cosgrove sixth. Helen Kohlberg in seventh. Helen Thomas eighth. Mandy Poole in ninth. And Sonia Whiteman rounds out your top 10 for the C women in the EMEA.
And last but not least at all, we saw Julia Nygaard there coming across the line for Poland there in 3.2 watts per kilogram. Maybe going to be getting an upgrade there in the D category, but good to see her out there. And very new Zwift. We started with those Queen of the Mountain, kit going on there
Stylish.
as well. Yeah, very stylish there, and able to take the Queen of the Mountain on the day. Katie Ryder comes on through for second place, followed up by Alexandra Poluka there, the teammate of Julia, coming through for third. Jess Nudsing there, RCC for fourth. It's Jess Verstegen there in fifth. It's going to be Donna there for sixth. Angela Tweichel there coming in for seventh. Jackie Musgrove for Revo in eighth. Claire Barker, A.V. Gross in ninth. And Michelle East there for the BRT team. That is going to be the results there for EMEA West Division 1D there. Gonna go ahead. I think that's gonna be it for us for the results here. We're waiting for a whole lot more of Zwift Power to come on through. Been a long broadcasting. We've been here for almost 3 hours, so it's a big day for us here, and we've got 2 more to come. Make sure to be tuning in for America's East. We've got how many more rounds of the leg snapper for all the riders out there? I mean, there's still a lot of leg snapper to go, a lot of King of the Mountains to go, Dave. I mean, pretty awesome to see, and we're gonna be here. For the rest, make sure to check those out for the Americas. If you need any of the results, head on over to WTRL.racing and you can check that out. Thanks to all those who are out there viewing. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit those subscribe buttons, turn on your notifications. It does help a ton, and it also notifies you anytime that we do go live. We'll see you guys in just a couple of hours for the Americas for the Zwift Racing League. Week number 3 out in Innsbruck. As always, everybody, right on.
Right on.